and welcome once again to another Creator Series WRC live stream. We are here today in Rally Sweden in the WRC Rally 1 cars like we had this weekend with Rally Sweden in real life. So a good crossover event and time for our drivers to demonstrate that they have the talents that the real life drivers have as well. Joining me in the commentary booth, we have Gwatz today. How are you doing?
Hello. Yes, I'm all right, actually. I'm very excited for this. This is, yeah, I can't even imagine driving in snow in these kind of cars, you know, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens today. Yeah, it's very scary conditions. So I'm very excited to see how many people can flip their cars.
So most people will know you from the Formula One streams and your own content that you do. What's your experience with rally? Do you have any experience with, real life events or streams, probably something like that?
Wow. I think I've watched a fair bit of rally, and I've obviously done some of the Creator Series events as well. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Because I'm in the Creator Network, I was able to get WRC, which is kind of the reason why I ended up playing it, just because it was there. I've not done much driving specifically on Sweden, but I've done a few laps of certain. I did a lot of Monte Carlo when I first got the game. I really enjoyed driving that. But I think I'm not a complete beginner. I have some decent knowledge. I know you've just got to send it, you know. So I think I've got a little bit of knowledge, but not as much as some of the drivers here, you know, and not as much skill as some of the drivers here. So I'll be learning a few things today, hopefully.
Last week's event.
Is it always that my co-commentators underestimate themselves? It seems to be a growing trend here on this stream, but there you go. Anyway, we are almost ready to get underway for some of our drivers. They're just completing their shakedowns at the moment. So crucial thing to complete your shakedown, you want an extra set of tires. As long as you complete the shakedown run, you get an extra set, even if they are punctured or whatever. Just crucial to not damage your car too much to start the first stage. But it's a good occasion for our drivers to get up to date with their car setup or the way the car's handling, because sometimes in the break that we have preparing things and setting up the live streams and everything, you tend to lose track of your way of driving, and it's a good occasion for them to get onto it. And we have our first cars on the road already with Ancephalosis into Sector 1 of the first stage, as you can see on your right.
Yeah, this is just, like I was saying before, just the way these guys, that obviously they play the game all the time, the way they just send it into these corners is honestly crazy. Like, I cannot imagine having the confidence in the car to just, especially in these conditions as well, I can't imagine having the confidence to just send it into some of these corners. It's honestly, it's very cool to see, but it's very scary at the same time.
Well, paradoxically, with the studded tyres on snow, with 384 studs, which I got from the WRC live stream this weekend, they've got a lot of grip out there, would you believe? Once the tyre gets through the loose snow on top and digs into the ice underneath, it's sometimes like driving on tarmac, the drivers say. So you can afford to send it. You can go really, really fast into some of these corners. You can see there the speed, I think in miles per hour for Ancephalosis there, reaching nearly 80 miles per hour into a corner, so breaking the speed limit. It's incredible, isn't it?
That is absolutely crazy. You know, I didn't want to quiz you too much, like I said before, but I did want to ask you about because I did read about the studded tires, but I don't really know much about them. So you said it's nails in the tire or something like that digs into the ice? Is that how it works?
Yeah. The way Wood Screws, our producer, is saying that would be very, very interesting to see. And I think perhaps it would last maybe one corner, but it would be interesting to try the concept. In essence, it's like a tungsten stud, effectively, like you've got in football, basically on the bottom of the boots, right? And so they're literally just embedded into the rubber of the tread, and they just grip into the road a little bit extra, and it can happen that they are ripped out of the tire if they overheat. So there is a bit of tire management, a bit like that you get on a circuit racing venue, but with the low temperatures it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But yeah, it's a very technical tire to design, and they spend months designing the tires and testing them. So we hope that there's no punctures today, although with the high speeds and lots of obstacles to hit, including snowbanks are plenty, that could be a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, watching some of the drivers now, like some of them, you wouldn't even think it's snow and ice, you know. Some of them are going, I mean, maybe it's the camera angle as well, but some of them are going extremely fast right now, as we see someone almost go off a little bit there. But yeah, I mean, I guess the tires help quite a lot, but some of these guys are really, like I said, they are really sending it. I think the snowbanks are what scare me the most, you know, because obviously, as we know, that's what's going to send your car doing like 17 flips, you know. So those are the bits that scare me the most, watching these guys drive. Yeah, very interesting about the tires.
Yeah, indeed. And as you can see on our screen, we've got Jam, or Jam Wiggle as we're calling him today, into the hairpin of Sector 2 there. And we have difference today. Rift Blondie giving up her seat, at least for the time being, to, I think it's her brother in the simulator right now, Eric. And looks like he's doing a very good job, to be fair, just keeping it on the roads and actually going very fast for first. That's the wrong way. Wave to the crowd while you go round. But yeah, that
you just
can
cursed
happen
him already. You already did the curse. We're already on the first stage.
The more the merrier, as they say. It
God.
can happen very, very easily because going into a junction like that, sometimes the pace note, so what you're hearing, which way to go, as we've got Ambient Mike off the stage just briefly as well on one of our cameras. If you mishear the pace note, you can go into a junction and go, I can't remember which way I was meant to go. So, Jam off as well into a bush. Big hit there and a reset penalty of 12 seconds. That's not what you want on the first stage. And he's only halfway in.
That is not ideal. Yeah, I mean, I think with the Pesos, I've done that many a time, you know, so I feel I can't laugh at Eric too much. I wasn't really sure what to expect from him, actually. I was trying to watch the Rift Blondie stream earlier to try and get a gauge of his skill level, but oh, well, I think I've just cursed him now, so because he's just gone off. But I mean, honestly, from what I'm seeing, I don't know if he has the most rally experience, but I think he's doing all right, to be honest. Like I said, I think the key is, and obviously you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the key, and especially in these conditions, is just to send it, you know, well, send it within the limit. But he seems to have that down, sending it, I suppose. But I mean, hopefully not too many more mistakes. Okay.
Oh, that was close. That was close, you know.
Oh, I thought he was going a bit too fast. And yeah, I think honestly he's doing all right, to be honest. I mean, not too bad, I would say, so far.
Yeah, Rally Sweden is one of those rallies where if you push the limits a little bit too much, it can go very wrong and very badly wrong, let's say, at very high speeds. Because you've got, it's essentially one of the fastest rally. The corners are quite open most of the time, so you can carry a lot of speed through them. But if you go out of the road format, so say if you go to the inside or indeed into the snowbank, that works as well. There's a very high chance of either getting damage, puncture, say, or indeed flipping the car and rolling multiple times, especially at high speed. So it's generally a rally, actually, where I'd recommend people taking it quite slow to build up, let's say, confidence. And then once you feel like you're getting to grips with the car, then you can start pushing quite a bit. And you see that strategy quite a lot in real life as well, where the drivers are, as Contant, getting ever so close to the post. So Contant de Mo just nearly going off the road. He is taking all of the risks right now. And with a very bad start to the championship, he needs to gain up points. And so Contant, for those of you who are new to the stream, I think it's currently reigning Rallycross champion in Dirt Rally 2, so the World Championship. So he's a very, very strong driver on any racing game, but especially on rally and rallycross games. And he will be absolutely sending it today, as I know he's very, very strong in these cars. But we've got multiple competitors today that are capable of winning. We've got EXR Kamikaze, we've got Flembar, we've got Ambient Mike, and you've got them all on screen right there for you right now. Thank you, Gareth.
Yeah, this is the people we want to see. I think going back to what you said, even not in snowy conditions, for someone like me, I remember on my first few rallies that I did, I was driving at probably like maybe even like 25-30% on some of the first stages just to get a feel for how everything was. And I think I put in some of my better times as the rally went on. You know, I think that is not just, I assume these people probably do it to some degree as well, just to get a feel for it, but I'm sure they don't need to do it as much. But for someone like me, or for someone that's new to rally, I think taking it easy, especially to begin with, and especially somewhere like this, is definitely the way to do it, because I think it will definitely end in tears, if not. And I don't know if we caught it on the broadcast, but I think Eric span like right in front of the finish line as well, so that was very sad to see. I'm definitely feeling for him, but I was impressed. I was watching him a little bit. I was quite impressed, actually. He's sending it quite a lot, so I'll give him that for his first time. I will give him that.
Yeah, to be thrown directly into the deep end with Sweden, which is a very technical rally, and with the fastest cars in the game, very, very, very tricky. So I've got to give them that. And as you can see, the times at the top, incredibly fast. You've got Ambient Mike there in 6th place. Constantalomo just trailing by less than 1/10 of a second there. And I'm sure that Vlembar and Kamikaze will be around the same pace. I think Vlembar has completed the stage, but I haven't got his time just yet. But you can see our drivers apparently were being told it's 5:02, which is quite down actually. So maybe a mistake, a reset penalty, something like that. I'll see if I can look into it. But yeah, it's so easy to make mistakes. This is the rally where you're always going to make one mistake essentially, but you've got to keep it to a minimum and mitigate the damage as much as possible. So choose the place you're going to go off, and then hopefully build confidence after that. Easier said than done, though, to be honest.
Definitely easier said than done. I think that's reassuring to hear for, yeah, I mean, again, I don't know what it's like in real life, but especially in here, I think it's almost guaranteed to make at least one mistake. I think it's probably almost impossible to have a perfect weekend here. I guess with the snow and the ice, it can be, even with the tires, it can be so unpredictable. I'm not surprised if we see even some of the best doing a few flips or a few resets or something like that.
Yeah, huge time there from EXR Kamikaze. P3's happy with that. Just off the pace of the front runners, but you know, another person that's looking to turn their fortunes a little bit, IRC-JPH, who's got a new wheel, a new direct drive wheel. Once again, this is the 2nd week they've had it, and their pace last week was incredible, so we'll have to wait and see where they are on the board, as Ryan gets a penalty there for cutting the course. Another one to mention is Aerotech in P37 overall on the first after the first stage, which is incredible turn of pace. So our drivers are absolutely going flat out at the moment.
Yeah, I was watching Ryan. It seemed like he was having a good run before that. I don't exactly know what happened to him, but not ideal to get a 5 second, because he looked to be doing quite well until then. But I mean, 5:04. I don't know if you can comment on that. I don't think that seems too bad. That's probably quicker than what I would do. So
it's a top 50 time, which is
that's not too bad. That's not too bad at all.
We have on average between 500 and 800 people participating in the event for context, so it's a very respectable time to be in the top 100. It doesn't sound too good when you look at that, but when you look at the overall percentage, like the top percentage that you're in, it's actually an incredible time. Which is, yeah, as Gareth is saying, that's page 2 of the results, which is commendable.
That is extremely. I don't think I was ever on page 2 of the results, so that is very well, definitely commendable for me. I would say that's probably, especially like I said, in these conditions, that is not too bad at all.
So as you can notice on the screens right now, the weather is quite good. I'm just looking through to see if the weather does get any worse, but it looks like we might have a tiny bit of snowfall in the latter part of the event. So we'll have to wait and see if our drivers can cope with that, because it's great when the visibility is good, you've got the trees to look at, you can sort of gauge where you're going, but if the snow comes in and the fog comes down, you can only see maybe 50 meters ahead of you, then it becomes a completely different rally. As Antafilos is going way off the track there, just very lucky to not clip the pile of logs on the outside, but it just shows how little grip there is once you go off of the racing line.
Yeah, that was another little question that I had queued up. I wasn't sure what the conditions would be like. I didn't know how changeable the conditions were actually going to be across the course of this rally. I mean, I can see a few clouds in the distance there. I don't know if that means anything or if that's just there for show on the game. But is there potential that it might start snowing or raining potentially, something like that, John? Do you think?
Let's just say the clouds are just standing there menacingly.
They are just standing there staring everyone down. I mean, this looks hard as it is. So with wet snow and no visibility added in, I'm sure that is yeah, that is not ideal. I remember, I think the second event I did, it was raining I think it was raining for half the event, like the latter half, and I was there were a few stages where I honestly couldn't see anything. Like I was probably going maximum like 20 miles an hour the whole time. I was going so slow. It was not ideal. That was very scary, and that was not in snow. That was just on normal tarmac. So, I mean, I hope for these guys, you know, even for little Eric, I hope for him, for his sake, I hope it does not snow. But that would be quite funny to watch as well. So, let's see.
Ah, yes, the commentators and wishing for the demise of drivers.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good. I'm not the one driving now, you know, so it's not. I'm quite relaxed. Normally, I'm never this relaxed watching anything to do with rally, but I'm quite relaxed watching this right now. Although I do know I know the pain they must be going through, so that's yeah. I can feel for them a little bit.
Yeah, it's good to see. Oh no, just getting it wrong on the post. I said I was just about to say good to see them get through the junction. Okay, and there we go. It happens again. So no. I do apologise for that one. I will take that one on my chin, Eric.
Oh no, no. I mean, we just about didn't catch you saying it as well. So we could have played that off. But I commend you for taking the blame for that. But yeah, that was not ideal. That was. Well, I almost want to say that was a little bit unlucky, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing in rally. I don't know.
Well, they do say you make your own luck in rally. I'm not sure whether I believe it myself, but you know, there's multiple opinions. It's a sport where you have to take risks, and if you do, you know, get away with it, you are sort of lucky, let's say. But I'm sure a lot of drivers would just say, you know, that it was a calculated risk. I think Jam is in a tiny bit of trouble because he had a little bit of a crash earlier on, and he might have some sort of puncture. The car is flailing about quite a bit. It doesn't look too bad, but the off that he had was a chunky penalty, and indeed it was way off the stage into the trees. But good to see Eric and Blondie complete a stage. Literally, Eric has a co-driver right next to him, so you know, going for full realism right there.
This is sim racing at its finest right here. Like you say, he's getting the full realism experience right here. That is beautiful to see. You know, I didn't even think about that at first, but now that you mention it, he does in fact have a co-driver. So I mean, in that scenario, he should be winning the whole thing if he's got a real life co-driver. But let's see.
Easier said than done, as they say. As you can see, Jam, just over rotating as well, nearly hitting the post, the same post that Eric hit. It's very, very difficult with these cars because they are the only cars in the game with hybrid boost deployment. So the cars are four-wheel drive. However, the boost is deployed via the rear wheels only. So it gives you a little bit of a kick of the car, a bit like a Formula 1 car would. And so it can mean that the balance of power of the car changes, and so you get a snap of oversteer that you're not expecting. And for Jam, it's just not gelling right now with that Ford. And yeah, just off the road at the moment. That's a tree. Oh, it goes straight through the tree. That's very lucky, just breaking the tree at the stem, I guess, and no damage done. But that's very rare that happens. So I think he'll just be wanting to get to the end of the stage, one sector to go. But it has been a very topsy-turvy stage for Jam at the moment.
Yeah, I think to go back to what you said earlier, I think Jam may have sustained some damage from a crash he had because he's a pretty good driver from what I know, and he's made a lot of mistakes, but I wouldn't say they were necessarily his fault. He's probably got some sort of damage in the car. And again, going back to Rift Blondie, I don't know if you caught it on the broadcast, Gareth, but they did a WEC style driver swap then, which was very funny to see right before the next stage. That did make me chuckle, actually, the little driver swap and everything. That was very good. But yeah, I think Jam maybe got some damage. I mean, hopefully he can make it to the end of the stage, which I think is coming soon. Yeah, okay, so that's fine. At least he survived.
It reminds me of the story, actually, of the Panizzi brothers who participated in WRC in the early 2000s. Both of them were drivers, very high-quality drivers in France, but they only had enough funding for one international rally seat, let's call it. And so one of them decided to become the co-driver, even though they were two brilliant drivers, and the other one the driver. And so you had two people capable of producing great times in one car. Looks like we are about to get our interviews underway, and I think we have Aerotech to start off with. Let's see if we can get them into the channel. Hello, Mr. Aerotech. Caught you by surprise right there. Caught you napping. How's it going so far? Is Sweden treating you nicely? Are you having a good vacation in the snow?
Man, you're never going to believe the irony of this. So I talked to you guys last week, and I was like, I want to put a ton of practice in. I'm too competitive for my own good. So I practiced the 20K stage forwards and reverse for probably 4 or 5 hours. Really confident. I was like, okay, I'm missing the other like 8K or so stage that Sweden kind of is made up of. I'm going to practice it on Sunday. We got 2 feet of snow yesterday, so I spent my day shoveling. The irony of not being able to practice the snow rally because of snow is not lost on me. But first 2 stages of stuff I practiced, really, really confident, almost like a top 40, top 30 time on the first part. I'm just not as good going reverse. There's a couple jumps where you could probably do them flat. I can't. So Lost a ton of time there, but so far so good.
You know the saying, if in doubt, flat out, right? I think
Yeah,
we should go for
if in doubt, lift a lot, actually. I think is what it should be. I'm not as confident on that.
I'll tell you what, I have a question for you, seeing as you live in an area with quite a bit of snow. Does that experience ever translate over to the sim when it's got snow in it?
Kind of. These tires are really good. I mean, obviously on your road car, at least for me, even though we live in a pretty snowy area, it gets taken care of fairly quickly. So I'm just on regular like winter tires, not necessarily these like knobby, like narrow studded snow tires, but a lot of the same idea of turning in early, how the car kind of slides. I drive an Elantra in real life too. It's not as new as this one, and it's front wheel drive, but the general like how the car kind of moves about is pretty realistic, but the grip is nuts, and it's not like it's unrealistic grip. If you watched any of the onboards from Sweden this weekend, it was it's crazy what these tires can do, and the Aero can do.
God, maybe you got a question.
I kind of just wanted to gauge what the plan for the rest of the rally was. You mentioned that you weren't going flat out over some of the jumps and stuff. Are we going to see that a little bit? You sending it through the snow?
So I mean, Finland, I went in with no practice, having not played the been on the sim for months, and almost finagled the time. I think it's like 53rd overall when it closed. So just by being careful and taking very like smart risks. So I'm gonna go into every stage that I know and drive as hard as I can. Every stage that I'm not so sure, I'm gonna be really timid, because I mean, losing 5 or 6 seconds on a 3K stage is gonna be a lot less time than losing 5 or 6 seconds from rolling over and then having to worry about fixing the car. It's really counterintuitive, because this rally is really fun to push in these cars on the ragged edge, but I know when I'm not confident, and it's just kind of accepting that and being smart, so you don't, me and Encephalosis are at a war already, so I just don't want to end up making stupid mistakes and kicking myself. It's going to happen, but I would like to keep it from happening as long as possible.
A special request from our producer, Gareth. If you're going to crash, could you at least do a barrel roll for us? So
Copy that! Are we partial to barrel rolls or front flips? What are we looking for?
You gotta make it interesting, all right? Come on.
Yeah, I'll be very animated on the mic, on the camera too. I'll make it good TV.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it. Thank you.
10-4.
Well, anyway, it's about time to let you get into the next stage, I think. So we'll wish you all the best, and try to not commentators curse you too much, although no guarantees from Gwatz at least. But anyway, good luck to you, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, fellas. I'm good to need it.
To be fair, there is the leaderboard that I never like to see when my name's on it, but there you go, the standings. Yes, Gareth's done that on purpose. It has been a decent start for a certain driver, which I shall not name, but moving on from that, you've got Mr. Kamikaze in second place with Vlembar right behind. It's been a bit of a topsy-turvy start from them, because they're normally out of the gate scoring lots and lots of points, but Kamikaze had problems in Monte Carlo and then had a good comeback last week. But for Vlembar, it was the other way around. Great result in Monte Carlo, but struggling a little bit last time out as well. And I think we've got other people. Let's just say we got Ambient Mike that's looking to score more points, and IRC-JPH coming up the leaderboard as well. Contan Del Olmo, the one that's losing out at the moment, big time after 2 rounds with only 13 points on the board. Let me just say, he'll be scoring a lot more than that probably today. And it looks like we have our next interview lined up. So let us see with Ryan L83. Or Ryan Bottlemore, as he asked me to call him earlier. So there you go. Have you bottled it yet?
Actually, no, not surprisingly. So the curse is not coming yet, but it'll probably come at some point.
How's the snow treating you? Everything going okay so far?
Yeah, I'm very surprised at the pace I'm doing at the minute. I think I was 17th in the last stage, but my aim was to be under 5 minutes on both stages, and technically I did, but on the first one I got a 5-second penalty, so it was like 5:04, but technically it was a 4:59, but I'm happy with the start I've done. These short stages will be interesting because they're a hit and miss for me. Sometimes I do good, sometimes I crash, so we'll see how we get on. But did make a last call on the car choice. I was going to go forward, but I went with the Toyota. Not because it's the fastest car, but for me, the characteristics of the car suits me nicely.
That's what everybody says. Definitely wasn't going for the fastest car choice. We also did catch the egregious corner cutting on stream, sadly. So there's no getting out of that one. What do you think's the most difficult then in terms of adapting to these stages?
I think it's the snow in terms of where some of the parts you can cut and, you know, take it easy, but there's some where there's like, well, they'll make you spin. So it's just, as this week has been going on with practicing, I've kind of know, particularly in each stage, where I can cut and not cut, and obviously gain an advantage without getting a penalty, or two, getting spun around by the deep snow that there is. So I know on this stage and the next one are particular ones that I'm very cautious of, where the snow patches are. So it's just going to be remembering where they are, taking it easy through those sectors, and hopefully come through cleanly.
Sounds like a plan. Let's see if we can do it, because it's easier said than done, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do all the practice, get new PBs, and I come into this and go 4 seconds slower, even though I've not made a mistake. So it's going to be one of those where, do I take it tactically and stay safe, or do I just go for it with the position I'm in at the minute? Do I try and cement that top 30 overall position? But we shall see.
I'll let Gwatz explain the username that's been chosen for you, Ryan, on the commentary and on the live stream.
Really, Rolly Ryan. That's a very good one, actually. I like that. It's not. Luckily, I haven't been blessed with a funny name today, but I'm sure next time I will be.
He said that now. Oh dear, it's gonna happen now. Maybe Gwatz, you got a question for Ryan before we let him get on?
Yeah, I was just, if I've got the chance, I didn't know if he had to go on. I just wanted to know what you thinking for the rest of the rally, because we interviewed Aerotech before, and he was saying that some of the stages he wasn't as confident on, so he was kind of talking about, you know, it was a bit 50-50. Some of them he was going to take it easy, some of them he was going to send it. How are you feeling going into the rest of the rally? Are you going to be sending it the whole time, or is there something you got to take it easy on, do you think?
I personally say the first half I'm going to send it because I'm more confident on them, but I know I think it's stage 7 is probably the most difficult, and then the reverse of that as well is going to be basically the 2 long ones I'm concerned about the most. But yeah, I mean, first half good, second half very cautious potentially, but we'll see.
We shall see indeed. Well, thank you for your time. Some very good answers right there. Getting information for our viewers that might be a bit less versed for Rally Sweden there. So wish you all the best, and we'll catch up with you maybe later on in the event.
No worries. Cheers, boys.
Thank you, mate. Best of luck.
And as we see that, we can see him start the stage, I think. There we go. All dynamic right now. Normally, it's the interview box at the end of the stage. This is right at the start. You just shove a microphone in their face. Yeah. And hopefully, according to the FIA, they won't use any foul language. But there you go. A bit easier to do that when you're at the start of the stage. And as you can see, all the way straight up to 170, 180 kilometers per hour right there. It's ludicrous speed this stage, the shortest stage I think on the event here. I would pronounce it, I think it's Alcyon or something like that pronunciation, probably butchered it to be fair, but it's so quick this first half that you're constantly in 4th, 5th gear just on the rev limiter, and you've just got to be careful of not getting hooked in the snowbanks because it's so easy to do so. As you can see, Ryan using all of the stage that he possibly can.
Yeah, that was very, on the right hand side, that was very close to one of the snowbanks, actually. I mean, these are the kind of ones that scare me. These are the kind of stages that scare me the most. I mean, it's just full commitment, you know. You really, I think a lot of, ooh, okay, that could have been a lot worse. That could have been a lot worse. I mean, yeah, it's just like full commitment, you know. I'm sure rally drivers do this in real life as well, but once you think about what you're actually doing, like, and how fast you're going, I think that's when you make a mistake. You kind of just got to block everything else out and just keep going in a straight line, I suppose. But Izza, I do have a question for you, actually. Since we do have, I don't know how long this stage actually is, but since we have the championship leader here, in a little bit of downtime, I thought I would ask you what. Obviously, you're the leader of the championship. Does your driving style, do you think, I'll just remind the viewers, you know, but do you think it changes, your driving style? Like, would you, obviously, you know, we've been talking about how much you have to send it, all this stuff. Is it in the back of your mind that you're the leader of the championship? You know, are you taking it a little bit easy, or do you just block all that stuff out and just, like I said, just send it? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I'd say I'd probably answer more generally than just for myself. It depends on the driver. There are some drivers that like just going flat out every single rally, and like their mantra is, if I can get maximum points, the championship won't matter because we'll be able to, gain a points lead essentially. But I know a lot of drivers that do look at championship standings and that are sort of always having that in the back of their mind. I think for me, I'm part of the latter, quite thinking about what I'm going to do. For example, Sweden, not one of my best rallies, so where people would take it flat out, I have a tendency to maybe back off a little bit. So it'll be about perhaps securing points over going out for the outright win, because you've got specialists here that are fast everywhere, but especially fast at snow rallies, like Contrantalomo, like EXR Kamikaze, even Vlembar, very fast on snow in four-wheel drive. So if you're having to go at that kind of pace to keep up with them, sometimes if you have, say, hypothetically, if you have a nearly 30-point gap, you might want to back off a little bit.
Very interesting. That's what I thought you might say, something like that. Actually, I think it's yeah, I think it's just I kind of wanted to know what you thought, because I feel like it's a different, seems like a different dynamic to something like Formula One, which is something I'm more used to, especially with the how you actually gain the points. It's not really like you're, well, although you are racing other people, you're not racing them on track at the same time. So I feel like it's a whole different dynamic in those kind of situations. So I appreciate the answer. That was very insightful, actually. Thank you.
Yeah, to add a bit more to it, actually, you just made me think of something else, really, is that in Formula 1 and circuit racing, you've got runoff areas, where if you go off, normally it's maybe a 1 or 2 second time loss, if you don't hit anything, or if you don't have to spin around or whatever. And that can really help you to push the limits, whereas in rally, if you go off the stage, normally you're getting a bit of damage or a puncture or something like that, and it can be very, very tricky to gain that time back. So you're always driving at 95% most of the time, not taking those outrageous risks. As you can see, Phil there in just under 150. Looks like we're about to get some other interviews as well with Jam this time. Hello, Jam. How's it going so far? Colorful lights, by the way. Lovely stuff.
No music? No music today. No, it's going all right. I messed up. I had a wrong tune running the entire time. I had like the gear ratio was too long, so I was struggling to get the thing up to speed. I just fixed it now, so hopefully we do better. But other than that, I'm just gonna try to survive. I'm running on like almost zero sleep and a cup of coffee. So
sounds like optimum rally conditions.
Absolutely, yeah. I was like, either I continue sleeping and risk not getting potential points, or just send it and see what happens. So I decided to do the latter.
Well, it sounds like an opportunity for points, as you say. Maybe you got a question for Jam, because I've been monopolizing the questions a little bit today.
No, I like that you're because I'm just gonna ask them all the same thing, because I haven't got enough questions in my head. So, well, Jam, how do you think the rest of the rally's gonna go? Like you said, you had a few issues in the first stages, but what's the plan for the rest of the time here? How you feeling?
As per usual, it's literally just get my butt to the very end and survive. That's really the main goal. If I can make it there faster, better. My strats have always just been keep myself alive and then let everybody else make the mistakes. And if they do make mistakes, then it pushes me up in the rankings a little bit. But like I don't expect my personal skills to be as good as they are. So I'll just try to keep myself alive first. That's kind of where I'm at.
Sounds
I
like
might have some bad news for you coming up. Is the weather might be taking a slight turn for the worse.
So it's basically like last week here. It's fine.
That's the most brief answer, but it tells us everything right there.
Basically what we have every day up here, so it's fine.
Well, on that bombshell, I'm going to say thank you ever so much for your time, and hopefully you get some good stage results now, but hopefully we'll see you at the finish line as well. But thank you ever so much for your time.
Sounds good.
Well, it's good to see Jam still keeping the high spirits, after, it's such a high-speed rally. You don't want to be doing it on no sleep whatsoever, but there you go. He's a trooper, as they say.
Yeah, I think He's a lovely guy, but I think those spirits will be rapidly depleting as he loads into this stage because, as you mentioned before, they basically can't see anything. It's almost completely blind. I mean, going back to something you said before, if you miss a pace note here, or if you misunderstand a pace note here, your car's probably not going to be okay because you can't really see where you're going. It's just, yeah, this is not ideal conditions to be driving in, I'm sure. But I mean, from what we've seen so far, seem to be dealing with it all right.
Yeah, it's very, very tricky, especially with the lights, to know whether you want too much. Sort of the visibility is a compromise if you've got bad weather, let's say, because with snow, especially if you have the spotlights, which you have on the front, it can actually reflect a lot of the light and you can't see anything past the snow. It's looking like in these conditions, actually, that the snow isn't too bad, so they can still have those spotlights on. But if they're forced to turn the lights off at some point, it's going to be oh so terrible. And over Collins Crest, the other way, normally this stage is run the other direction, but I think we're running it in both directions today. But yeah, it's another very, very fast section, as you can see, all the way up to about 150 kilometers per hour on these very, very narrow roads. And the difficulty with this stage is the ridges on the sort of small banks of snow on the side. They can catch you out and you can get stuck on them. So you've got to... It's enticing to cut the corner, let's say, but it's also very, very risky. As you see Kamikaze over the jump, huge send over the jump. That's the furthest I've seen someone go. And perfectly sideways afterwards, just going flat out. I think this is Kamikaze at 10/10 now.
Yeah, that is, I mean, even I know he's got the skill to do it, but that is what we love to see. We love to see some cars being absolutely sent over the jumps. I mean, I think it was when we were watching Mike a minute ago, and you can see it a little bit on, we look at the left-hand side, like Ryan's POV here, like some of the snow, it does look absolutely blinding. So I can, actually, I think Phil, does he have his lights turned off, actually? I don't know if he's decided to do that or if the game's done it for him, but I think he has his lights turned off, actually. Yeah. If I am seeing that correct. So, I mean, yeah, I guess it kind of does make sense, actually, because that's obviously something you deal with in real life as well. Just when you're driving in snow in general, it's just going to be like, oh, as we see Ryan, somehow he saves it. Hopefully he can actually, okay, yeah, he's actually saved it. That was not an ideal entry into that jump then, but he's actually managed to save it. So, no damage as well from what I can tell. So that looks good. But yeah, as I was saying, it is literally, the snow will blind you in some, especially when there's a lot more snow on the track. So this is, yeah, like I said, not ideal to be blinded when you're driving in these kind of conditions. So I think Phil's got the right idea, to be honest, although it looks even more scary now that it's even darker as well. So I'm wishing him all the best.
Yeah, some people will be driving with the fog disabled, let's say, but it's good to see most of the drivers driving with fog enabled. It's one of those settings that we like to keep as fair as possible, but it can help visibility a lot. As you can see, you can see a lot further without the fog. And but it was good to see Ambient Mike only 7 seconds off the pace there. Just incredible pace. And Kamikaze about 4 seconds off the pace. So he'll be happy with that. His mantra for this rally was basically not trying to go for overall victory. He didn't think it was possible, but going for the Creator Series victory to get some points. So he'll be very happy with his pace, but it did look like he was pushing flat out on that stage at least.
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously I've had the same question for most of the drivers, because to be fair, I am interested on how they're feeling for the rest of the rally, but I think, again, even some of the best, Kamikaze, for example, they do know their limit and they know when, you know, like you said, most of these guys will be 90-95%. They know at certain tracks they dare not push it over that 90%, because if they do, then they'll go from getting decent points to potentially losing all of it. So it's not really worth it in some cases. So yeah, someone like Kamikaze, obviously, I'm sure he does know his limit, and if he knows the win isn't possible, then he can kind of gauge his weekend or his rally, I suppose.
Yeah, we've got Aerotech, I think, into stage 6 now, so the weather briefly takes a turn for the better, but it will get snowy once again later on. So that's one of those things in Rally Sweden, is because it's so close to the Arctic Circle, the weather can change quite rapidly, and the snow build-up can be very, very sort of unpredictable. It does change the grip a tiny bit, because obviously you're not running on that sort of plain ice surface. If there's a layer of snow on top, the tires have to clear that snow off before you can get the studs to grip into the ice, let's say. So it can have a lot to do with the results in real life, because obviously the first driver on the road has to effectively sweep all of the snow off of the road, and so loses time doing that. Here, for all of our drivers, it will be equal conditions, so they'll all be dealing a little bit with the road sweeping conditions, let's say. And you know, it can mean that the grip just goes off a tiny bit when you really want it on the apex, and so you've got to take that into account. And as we were saying earlier, a mistake in rally can cost you 10-20 seconds if it's a really bad crash. So when you're driving on the limit, you have to keep that in the back of your head. And I think a lot of the drivers, especially with half of the rally still to go and some long stages still to go, they'll be wanting to preserve their car and hopefully their sanity as well as they go through all of these jumps and snowbanks.
Yeah, as we see, I forgot his name already. It was Eric, wasn't it? Yeah, he is definitely sending it right now. I was going to say, I know we keep going back to him, but I think this is one of his first times playing. So as a fellow WRC noob, as we jinx him a little bit there, and he takes a bite out of one of the snowbanks. But yeah, he's definitely sending it. I mean, he sent it through the jump at least, so that's good. He's looking a little bit more confident now. That was something I was going to ask, actually. Oh, we're definitely jinxing him a little bit here, but hopefully he can keep it on the road. Yeah, I was interested to. Yeah, there we go. He can enjoy the rest of his stage now as we jinx Jam instead. But yeah, I was wondering that, and I did assume that the snow would affect the driving a little bit. Again, like you said, John. Less time for the tire, or it's going to be harder for the tires to grip up because they have to move through that additional layer that's now been added onto the stage. So again, not ideal conditions, but at least it stopped snowing for now. So but I'm sure, like you said, it will get a lot worse later.
Yeah, I think the main difference really in the driving isn't the grip conditions. That's maybe 10% of it. It's quite a subtle grip change with these tires. The main difference is just not being able to see where you're going and where the apex is, really, because you're at such a high speed. You know, you're going over this jump, for example, for Ancephalosis, lovely jump, by the way, at 87 miles per hour, and you've got to judge where the apex is. And, you know, it's not 13 corners, it's about, I don't know, 50 corners plus per stage. And so you've got to know where the apex is, you've got to be able to see the apex and guess where you need to turn in. And if you don't have the visibility to do that, well, you're looking at disaster straight away, effectively, as Jam looks to maybe have a bit of damage there as his car nosedived over the jump, which is very strange. As this car is normally flying quite straight, so maybe he's hit something on the rear and lost the rear wing, perhaps, which isn't as devastating as it is in Formula 1.
Yeah, I think, yeah, like you say, in Formula 1, that would definitely be the end of your race. So if he has lost it, it's nice to see him still going. I think, I believe you were referencing, when you said about the 15 corners, you were referencing F1 and I think, just to comment on my own experience, or maybe someone else, for example, someone like Eric that's a little bit new, I think I've come into races where, you know, I might not, in F1, where I may not have had the most practice, but because you do the same, you know, 12, 13, 14 corners over and over again, by the time you get halfway through the race, and by watching, again, the people you're following and stuff like that, you've already basically learned a whole different racing line. You've learned exactly where to brake, all this stuff, just from doing it over and over again. On a game like this, obviously you put in the practice before. Once the stage is over, you may have learned something in the middle of the stage, but you don't ever get to utilize that again. I mean, I know on some of these, for example, you go back the other way, but I guess you're turning a different way, so that doesn't really help. So it is, again, like I said, so many things are completely different. Although it is racing, it's a whole nother world than anything I'm used to. But, you know, you learn stuff and then you don't necessarily get to use it again, whereas something like F1, you know, you learn every single lap, but after this stage, you're on to another one. So, yeah, it's very, very interesting dynamic.
Yeah, EXR Kamikaze just taking the lines there. As you said, I learned a new racing line there just by watching him. So there you go. Even the experts can learn some stuff. It's mesmerizing watching the fastest drivers on these stages, because they can take just utter commitment and confidence into the corners, and they go gear higher sometimes into the corners than even I can manage, and a lot of drivers will just go, there's no way they're making that corner even though they've driven it 100 times, and somehow these fastest drivers on snow manage to get it done. It's all a different driving style, let's say, than your tarmac and gravel rallies, because you've got to have the car quite sideways and committed to the corner to get the grip. As we can see, Phil just literally rotating the car on the apex, the car starts sliding, and hopefully those front tires grip. But it's a cross between a gravel and tarmac rally because you have to keep the grip quite consistent and not go too far sideways. Whereas on gravel, you'd be completely sideways trying to just get the tires to spin up. Looks like we have another interview lined up, so let's see if we can get Ambient Mike in. He's in, but he's muted.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Let us see. Let us see if we can get him, whether he can hear us. It's looking like he's having a few issues with his microphone, perhaps.
Yeah, I think so.
Later. We have Ancephalosis instead in for an interview. It's looking like you're having a pretty good rally, although I've noticed quite a few spins in there. Is the car not reacting the way you like it?
No, I think the car is reacting well to the things I'm putting it in. I just I put it a little in the deep snow a few times on that last stage. To be fair, I think that was my first spin, but I did it 2 or 3 times on that stage. And again, luckily, I don't think we actually hit anything. We just kind of went for a fancy pirouette in front of the fans. But that was our worst stage at P83, and we had 2 where we were top 20. So I'm feeling pretty good so far. Just got to keep it out of the deep stuff.
Yeah, well, top 100 is still a great result, isn't it? How's your confidence on snow conditions? Because obviously there's only a couple of locations where we have snow, so it's quite a different driving style. Are you managing to adapt to that?
Yes, absolutely. My confidence is very high, especially coming into these last stages. I absolutely love the snow. I bought a Subaru WRX specifically because I wanted to be able to have fun in the snow. I've been between Michigan and New Jersey the last few years, and there's just a ton of snow. So especially this season, we've actually got like, I don't know, there's probably a foot of snow in my driveway right now, and I don't even bother to shovel it because I like driving through it. So I'd say my confidence is very high in the snow. Especially, I really like the way the snow feels in this game. It's something that stood out to me like right off the bat. So yeah, Sweden has always been one of my favorite locations in this game. I'm confident.
So let me get this clear. You chose to practice and not shovel your driveway, whereas Aerotech shoveled his driveway and didn't practice. There's 2 different scenarios here that I'm seeing take place. We'll see which one's the better one at the end of the rally. But it's great to see you have confidence, and obviously with the championship getting underway now, do you have any sort of people that you're looking to get ahead of in the standings, or particular target?
Well, me and Aerotech and Punju have had some pretty close battles in previous Creator Series seasons, so I think those are kind of my squad. I'd like to try to push forward even farther, but man, there's so many fast drivers, and I feel like every time I step it up, everybody else steps it up at least once or twice, even. So yeah, those are some of the people, but just trying to keep it together. For right now, we're trying to get on the board. I think I had a rough go my first 2 rounds here. We're still 0 championship points, but looking to definitely steal some today.
Sounds like a plan. Maybe you've got a question?
Yeah, if I've got time. I was just going to say, you did mention that you like driving in the snow in real life, and you did touch on it briefly, but do you think, because obviously, sim racing can never be perfect, but do you think the driving you've done in the snow in real life, does it correlate? Does it translate to the game? Does it help you in these conditions, or do you think it's not as realistic as people might think?
Yeah, absolutely. No, as I was kind of saying briefly, like I was blown away when I first drove in the snow in this game. I think it drives pretty close to true to nature in terms of IRL. And again, I've got an all-wheel drive car, so all-wheel drive in the snow, I think it handles really true to life. It's a ton of fun in this game, as much fun as it is IRL.
Very interesting. I'm very impressed by your car choice, by the way. So that was nice to hear as well. The one you have in real life, beautiful. I meant. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. No, it's all right. I felt like I had to mention it. So yeah.
No, good mention. Yeah, I validate that. Very good choice. Yeah. our producer saying
choice, but you can't get him in the States.
Anyway, Many thank yous for the interview. It's great hearing from you, and glad to hear that you've got a lot of confidence. We'll let you continue the WRC arms race between yourself, Aerotech, and Punju, and see who comes out on top at the end of the championship. Thanks for your time again.
Sounds good. Thank you guys as well.
So it's great hearing from our drivers. Just wanted to take the time to do a little bit of a recap, seeing as we've reached halfway of the rally. So we have, at the moment, in Creator Series standings, EXR Kamikaze in P2 overall, about 12 seconds off the pace. We've got a big gap to Ambient Mike then, 46 seconds off the pace in P8. Contant Alonso has had a problem somewhere that we have not spotted, as he's a minute off the pace, so perhaps a penalty or a puncture coming into effect there, with Vlembar just behind, literally 0.8 of a second behind, so lots going on there. We've got Becky B, who is sometimes on the broadcast as well, P17, not driving with us today, however. Ryan L83, 23rd overall, so doing very, very well indeed. The gap's a lot bigger than I was expecting. We've got IRC-JPH 34th overall after stage 6, with Ancephalosis literally a second to the millisecond behind. That is all I can see for the moment. Aerotech P56. So I'll try and see where the other drivers are at as a Rift Blondie decides that the marshals need to get out of the way as she gets to the finish. 253rd, so that has not been a good stage for her. Presumably quite a few mistakes in that one, sadly.
Yeah, it's very, like you said, the gaps are a lot bigger than I thought they were. It was interesting to hear as well that Ancephalosif, as you said, or as he said actually, and maybe you can verify this because I don't exactly know, but I think he said that he didn't score any points in the first two rallies we did. So I guess that does show that I mean, from what I can see, he's a very quick driver. So yeah, it does show that if you push a little bit over the limit, then it can end very badly, as some of the drivers have pointed out in the interviews today.
I've just been distracted by Rift Blondie and Eric showing a great big stick of mozzarella cheese on their live stream.
But actually
yeah,
what that is? Wow.
I think a huge like slab of cheese basically. But anyway, it's good to see Ancephalosis gaining a little bit of confidence. That the problem with Ancephalosis has never been pace, it's been just consistency, as Ryan just getting all the way up the snowbank on the inside. That's a very dangerous spot to do that in, but he got away with it somehow, so credit to him right there. I'm seeing a lot of drivers today pushing a lot more than I expected them to do, and I'm loving to see that, because usually on this type of rally we see drivers sort of maintain their pace a little bit, try and get to the end, but we're seeing, as Ancephalosis said, the drivers are getting faster, and as they get faster in this series, they push the limits a lot more, and that means that everybody else has to push the limits as they gets right up on the snowbank, does JPH, but he recovers it very, very well. And you can see he's at ease still. He's one of those drivers where he doesn't look like he's driving fast, and yet he gets to the end of the stage and his times are on par with everyone else.
Yeah, I think anytime I've driven this game, because I've obviously had my face cam on, I feel like you can see a bit of fear in my eyes. But when I was watching Ryan, I was watching his face a little bit just after he had that moment, and he looked completely unfazed, which again, I guess it goes back to what I was saying, like a lot of these guys kind of just mentally check out, you know, and they obviously know what they're doing in the driving, but I think, like I said, if you think about it too much, then that's going to lead to a mistake on its own, you know. I think yeah, when you really think about what rally is, it is a very crazy sport. So I think yeah, JPH looking very unfazed. Yeah, these two, they're looking very unfazed considering what they're doing at the moment. So yeah, they've both made some decent saves this stage actually. So hopefully they can bring it to the end without any more incidents. That would be nice.
They're enjoying the weather. Yes,
they are enjoying the weather. Again, it's not actually started snowing again yet, which is very interesting.
Well,
it always makes me think. Well, yeah, I don't want to. We're going to commentate across the whole grid here. It's definitely going to be tipping it down next stage.
We have Rift Blondie and Eric into the next stage, and it's snowing a good one.
Stage, and it's oh my god, look at this. This is unbelievable. Honestly, this is the worst. You can't. Yeah, this is very scary. I would hate to be driving this right now. I wonder if I hope the mozzarella cheese is helping them somewhat. Calm their nerves, maybe. I don't know, a little snack. I don't know. I mean, I'm wishing them the best, but this does not look ideal.
Yeah, and the worst thing is it's on the longest stage of the loop as well. 20 plus kilometers this stage is. I'd love to pronounce the name, but I just butcher it completely. So I'm going to avoid doing that on the live stream.
That's all right.
As you can see, the bar on their left indicating how long they've got to go in the stage. You've got a little arrow that progresses up the bar as you progress during the stage. And every single sector that you complete, you get a time, and it turns the bar to grey, so you can see how many sectors you've completed. In other game modes, it will either turn red or green based on whether you're doing better or worse than the drivers you're competing against. But here on multiplayer, it doesn't give you the time until the end of the stage, which adds a little bit of jeopardy to things, because if you go into a stage, say the last stage, only a couple of seconds ahead of somebody, you feel forced to push flat out, and it replicates the real life sort of decisions that the FIA has made to not give the drivers access to their stage times during the stage. So in real life, the drivers will only know whether, for example, they've won the stage or won the rally at the end of the stage. They can't just check the split times like you can in many other forms of motorsport.
That is, you know, I didn't know. See, I was hoping that I knew I would learn some things today. That is very interesting, actually. I did not know that. I was going to ask you, and it's good that you bridged onto it quite well there anyway. What kind of times are we going to be seeing from the drivers here? Obviously, like you said, I think, yeah, you did say this is the longest stage. So when it's all said and done, what kind of times are we going to be looking at here? How long are they actually going to be on this stage for?
Well, the current leading time by Baconator is a 9-minute 1 second 0.4. So best side of 10 minutes, I'd say, for most drivers. The gaps increase quite quickly after that first time. So you're looking probably for our top drivers around a 9:15, something like that. But it's a very, very long stage, and the possibilities for mistakes are very, very high because this stage, you may have noticed via the other stages that there's quite a change in tempo with some junctions, some flat out sections, followed by some technical bits where there's many snowbanks on the side and quite high snowbanks. So there's a lot of sort of changing things that you have to adapt to, and that can be one of the most difficult things to keep consistency. Because if you get your driving style adapted to driving not next to the snowbanks and then suddenly you're hitting the snowbanks, it can go very bad very quickly. So they've got to maybe drive a little bit cautiously into this one.
Yeah, I do. I love a stage that has a mix of both. I think, well, from my view of rally at least, which may be very wrong compared to most of the other people here, but I think where the money's really made in the slow and twisty sections, and I think that's where a lot of the skill does come out. And I do like a stage that has a nice mix of both, I would say, especially for driving it as well. I enjoy that. I do enjoy the slow and the more slower corners. I think when it's all flat out, that's what scares me the most, you know. I guess because I'm going so fast, but yeah, I think like you say, it's going to be a long one out there. I think, again, maybe this is just me, but I always think I hate when the stages are long, because that's just more chance of me crashing, you know. It could be an easy stage, but if it's 9 minutes, 10 minutes long, that's more chance for me to crash, you know. So not the biggest fan of these ones, but we see Kamikaze. I don't know if that was a corner cut, but he did get very, very onto one of the banks there. He's done very well to save that. And I mean, yeah, again, watching someone like him, he's just gliding through the stages. There's always this one quote. It was a Martin Brundle quote. I think it's one of his Brundleisms or whatever they call it. He says it quite often, I think. And I don't know if this does apply to to rally, but I always think it does. Is he likes to say that the car is always sliding. It's just how well you control the slide. And I think, especially in WRC, it seems like the car is almost sliding at all points, you know, like where even when you're going in a straight line, you're still kind of drifting a little bit. It just seems like the car is sliding all the time. And it's just, you know, people like Kamikaze, they can just control that slide very well going through all these corners. It's very, very interesting to see. It's very pure racing, I guess you could say. It's very good to see.
Yeah, I find that a perfect explanation, actually, for rally. You're just always on the limit, sliding a little bit, even on tarmac. And it's just how you control that, how much speed you can carry. And as you can see for Contant, big mistake for Contant. Recover it, though. I cannot believe it. He'll get away with a 5-second penalty, but he managed to just avoid all the logs, all of the trees, all of the bushes. He is ever so lucky from that one, because probably 9 times out of 10 that will end in disaster with a huge amount of damage. He will have lost time in that with the penalty and with going off the road, having to slow down in the snow. But yeah, he's on the limit. Both of them on the limit. You can see they are pushing so hard because the times are very, very close. And for Kamikaze, Norwegian driver, he'll be wanting to win this one. That was his target. So he's being pushed to the limit But for Quentin, I think he'll be... Oh, as he goes off again, pushing too close limit through the bushes. He's gotten away once again, very, very luckily. He's using up all of his luck in one stage right now. This is just over the limit stuff. Maybe a bit of frustration, as I noticed on stage 5, he lost the best part of a minute, possibly to a puncture or some other kind of problem. So currently out of the fight for the win, let's say. But he'll be looking to gain back time and gain back confidence, that's for sure, as he's not... The finish line isn't there. I don't know why there's a board there. It's the only stage where that happens, as he's off once again. And I think that was nearly into a pile of logs there. As we had a little bit of a broadcast mishap right there. But he was just, our producer is just trying to mitigate the damage. Yeah, trying to mitigate damage for our drivers. See, if you can't see the obstacle, you don't crash into it, which is very, very kind of our producer to think about that, to be fair. As you can see, Kamikaze going into the section where Quentin, the crash, well, I don't really want to call it a crash, the off-track moment, because it wasn't even really a crash, happened just prior to this stage, section of stage from Kamikaze's perspective. So, as you can see, they're only halfway into the stage, so if it would have gone badly for Quentin, and he still has an opportunity to get it wrong, sadly for him, in the latter half of the stage, it would have been a long way home, let's put it that way. Going back to just briefly on your point before all of that happened, the main difference really between a lot of motorsport and the WRC is that it's still a sport that requires a lot of mechanical grip. It's very mechanical grip based, and where aerodynamics is very heavily regulated and also heavily hampered by the shape and form of the cars. So you don't have that ultimate grip like you have in Formula 1 or Le Mans prototype racing. Maybe it's a bit more akin to like GT3 cars, where they've got a bit of aerodynamics, but it's very limited by the shape of the cars and what they're allowed to put on the car. So in that essence, yes, they have to send it a lot more sideways just to find the grip, essentially, and not understeer, because that's your main enemy in rally, is understeer.
Yeah, I think going back to those few incidents we just saw, I think again we've come back to it a few times now, but a lot of these drivers, they know when they know what's too far, basically, and I think the first 5-second penalty was a bit of a let off, because it could have been a lot worse than getting a 5 seconds. So I think yeah, definitely pushing the luck a little bit too far. Well, not more than a little bit too far on more than one occasion. But again, at least he's got all 4 wheels and he's still going. But I think it's very interesting because, again, the stage is so long. If you, and no offense, if you have a bit of a head loss moment halfway through the stage, it's probably quite hard to calm yourself down when you still have to drive at, 110, 120 kph in these conditions, So it's yeah, having an incident like that, it's probably very hard to calm yourself down in these kind of conditions, as we see. Yeah, this is very, very sketchy right now. Honestly, I am surprised that he hasn't crashed yet, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie, he's very much on the limit here, but I don't want to jinx him. I've probably just jinxed him, but I shouldn't have said that. But yeah, I mean, honestly, he's doing well to not. He's doing well to still be going in a straight line, I'd say. So yeah, it's very, very sketchy conditions here.
Yeah, if there's one driver that could be able to sort of bring his head back into the game and calm down, as you say, it would be Quentin, with all of his esports experience, especially with Rallycross, how short the races are and how you need to just gain composure back very, very quickly to remain in the fight for a win. It's of utmost priority. So as you can see, he's still pushing flat out, even though he's made at least 3 big mistakes that could have been rally ending. He's still flat out. Just if in doubt, go flat out, as Colin McRae would say. And I do love to see it. And I must admit, he's practiced these lines most definitely, as he is taking just all of the cuts. And Kamikaze up on the snowbank a little bit. He's picked up a tiny bit of damage there on the bonnet, so he's had some sort of off-track caper and straight into a tree there. Thankfully, that is one of the trees that does break a little bit, and sideways, really, really tricky. He's offline here and losing a bit of time.
Right now.
Yeah, it's incredible to watch, though.
That was a very good. Well, I'm assuming that was a very good save in the middle there. I think he was opposite lock for at least a second there. So that was yeah. Again, he's very lucky to be, or very, very skilled to be pointing in the right direction right now. I mean, that's the kind of guy that you want in that situation. I think Yeah, I see what you mean. The bumper it does seem like it's pointing up a little bit. So again, he might have been in some sort of incident, but I don't think it's affecting him too much. Hopefully, I mean, 8 minutes. I think he should be pretty close to the end here. So hopefully he can take it a little bit easy now and just bring it home.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the times are like, because from different perspectives, the driving can look more or less fast. And Contant is really, really frustrated, however, in French. Apologies for the language. So that will be a €10,000 fine, according to the FIA.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's Gareth's going to fine him now. Gareth's going to fine him.
Perfect transition there from Gareth. I have to thank him for that one.
Oh god!
But
we'll split the fine 3 ways, guys. Don't worry, we won't tell anyone.
It's actually surprising to see Contant get frustrated like that, because he's usually a very, very calm driver. So obviously that's not the first big incident. Obviously he had that time loss, and I'm suspecting that something of that nature happened, where he went a little bit wide into the deep snow, but instead of getting away with it, he might have had a roll or a little bit of a contact with a tree or something like that. As Kamikaze going way offline here, right into the deep snow, and it slowed him all the way down right now. I'm not sure he'll be very happy with this stage. I think he will have lost quite a bit of time. 9:13 there, just below the target that I'd set. I will just refresh the leaderboards to make sure that I can bring you all of the times for stage. If I remember correctly, this is stage 8. Yes, there we go. Kamikaze 4th place, 12 seconds off the pace. So actually a very good time from him right there, as you can see on screen, with Vlembar right behind. So our on-broadcast drivers are going very, very quick. 5-second penalty for Kamikaze would explain part of that difference right there. So he's actually second overall in terms of actual stage time, just with a tiny penalty. Might be able to get him in for an interview. Let us see if that is possible. As you can see, the lovely livery on that car. Mr. Kamikaze, it would have been second place on that stage if not for the penalty. How's it going so far for the moment? You seem to be pushing the limits. You seem to be very, very close to that limit. So are you happy with the pace?
I'm happy with the pace. I will be my own enemy today. And if I back off, I start to do mistakes. So I need to be at 95% or I will go off.
We've seen quite a few mistakes from the likes of Contant, especially losing best part of a minute to the leader in one stage, and losing quite a bit of time in this last stage as well. So in your experience, because you are very, very fast on snow, I'd like to say probably the fastest driver in the Creator Series at the moment on snow. How much margin of error is there on snow compared to other rallies? Is it more or less than, say, gravel or tarmac?
What can I say? The snow is not give you so much room as you think. The snow is unforgivable. When you come sideways into the snow, you're just thrown around on a barrel roll. So I think it's easier to go off if you don't turn, if you understand me. And it's easier to not get a damage compared to gravel and tarmac. But yeah, I think you will describe it a little bit better than me, but yeah.
I think what you're saying is if you go off into the snow, it slows you down, unlike gravel or tarmac, where you keep the speed and keep going off. So, yeah, it's a great... I didn't think of that, to be fair, so it's a great explanation. Maybe Guatu got a follow-up question.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing... You've been sending it a lot, which I do love to see. You're going to keep sending it for the rest of the rally, then I assume. I'm sure you want to win this one. So what's the plan going into the final few stages here?
The plan is to keep going there we are now, just keeping it on the limit, but not over, and live up to the name.
Very nice.
Hopefully without the crash, let's put it that way.
Yeah, without the crash, and I will be, of course, we will send it, but we will try to manage the gap we have now, and try to manage the damage control, if you can say that like that, and have fun the rest of the event.
Yeah,
very nice.
There's some quite long stages coming up, so we'll let you get on to those. Wish you all the best of luck, and then for the moment, looking like some very good points on the board for the championship standings as well.
Yeah, so thanks for the jinx, and I will watch you later today, so we will have some fun.
No worries. You'll be
way.
able to jinx me later on. Well, there we have it.
Oh, God. You know, if
I've
I
been
can just,
played at my own game.
If I can just, before, because I know I'm sure you've got some very insightful stuff to say about this stage that I have no idea about, but what I did want to just butt in quickly and say that it's interesting that straight when we asked him, straight away he was like, oh yeah, I'm going 90-95%, which is exactly what you said as well. So again, going back to it, you know, people like Kamikaze, they know exactly where the limit is. He knows that he's not fully pushing, but he also knows if he does fully push, then he'll probably go off. So again, very interesting that you're, you know, I trusted you anyway, John, but you know, everything you've said is being proven, so that's good. You know, you're even more trustworthy now.
As my probably if you interviewed most of the drivers on this Crater series, they'd say I'm not trustworthy in terms of the setup or tire strategies I give out. Famously saying people to go on the wet tires because it's faster on a short stage, or indeed that brakes slow you down, so don't use them or don't repair them.
I think
maybe
if anyone the wet tires, I think they deserve what's coming for them. I think if they fall for that, so. It's not your fault, don't worry, mate. It's not your fault.
Well, would you believe on rallies, it can happen that drivers run out of tyre compound. Usually, Antifilos is going well off into the bushes there. Good recovery, though, because it's so easy to roll. As Kamikaze said, he was approaching it sideways there, and he could have rolled if the car would have just tipped over. There's nothing you can do at that point. But Antifilos is sending it here right now. Aerotech taking it quite, let's say, steadily. But it looks like Antifilos has got the bit between his teeth. I'm just going to go and have a look at the standings, because I think there's a story behind this in terms of these two. Just want to say also, if you look at the timing on the left once again, this is another the reverse of the long stage. So they've just done a 23-kilometer stage, and they're doing another 23-kilometer stage. This is an endurance racing for WRC drivers.
Yeah, I'm sure. I assume, I don't know if Gareth or maybe Punju was the one that picks who. I don't know who actually picks the track selection, but I'm sure he was giggling to himself. I'm sure he was giggling to himself very muchly. I know he loves. I know he loves his endurance racing, so I'm sure he had that in mind when he was picking this selection. This is yeah. I'm very glad to be sitting in the commentary booth and not out there driving right now. But yeah, actually, something else I thought was funny. Going back to Contan, I think that's how you say his name. I don't know. It was his reaction after the last stage was very Max Verstappen-esque. I think, like you said, he does a lot of racing anyway. So I think once these guys, you know, that are serial racers, once they get into something, it doesn't even if they're playing Mario Kart, they have the competitive mindset, which is obviously what makes them so good. And I think, again, even if they're playing something like Mario Kart, if they do one race and it goes wrong, they're going to get angry at themselves, you know. So I wasn't necessarily surprised to see that, but it's nice to know he's got some passion coming into this, at least. That's good to see.
Yeah, let's just put it this way. It's not been a great weekend for a rally in Sweden for French drivers. Adrien Fourmeau getting a penalty for the for swearing at the end of one of the stages this weekend. So, yeah, for Contan, he'll be... You know, he's one of the drivers, as you say, that is very sort of 100% committed everywhere. And so when you're concentrating so much, especially when you're having to react a lot more to stuff, I feel like the reason why I'm saying that, I feel like in Formula 1, you have a chance to anticipate what's going on because you know which corners are coming up. You're sort of locked into a battle or locked into sort of setting fastest laps if you're on your own and trying to keep yourself out of trouble. So you can not relax, but you can sort of gather yourself a little bit more and gather the situation, think strategically a little bit if you've got the time. Whereas in rally, you're constantly having to react and adapt to stuff, and so your brain doesn't have even a second to switch off realistically. Although maybe, on saying that, for Ambient Mike, he'll have about 5 seconds on this straight to switch off, and then hopefully brake in time for the next corner. So it's a very different sort of style of driving, and it can mean that the drivers sort of get worked up during a stage, and that comes out at the end of a stage. Especially when we shove a microphone in their face for an interview or get their camera up with a microphone enabled. There's a good reason they don't do that in the WRC real life series. They used to.
Yes, I have. I've seen some clips of that on YouTube before. I'm not surprised they don't do it anymore, especially with how the FIA is nowadays. I'm not surprised they don't do it anymore. But yeah. Luckily, all jokes aside, luckily we're not handing out any £10,000 fines, so it's at least we can sit and laugh at it and know that he's not gonna have a big fine coming his way.
We'll need official confirmation from Gareth.
Yeah,
there's
Gareth
no signs.
It's up to Gareth. He'll have to let him know. I'll have to let him know. But I've heard he's very ruthless in the steward room, so we'll have to wait and see.
As you can see, Contant on stage right now, just pushing the limit once again. He's just all the time, as you can see, as you said, sliding the car. You can see on the steering wheel, most of the times by the apex, he's counter steering, which means that the car is well sideways. You can see there a technique used called the Scandinavian flick, which is a technique developed in the rear-wheel drive cars of the 70s and 60s, where because the cars understeer a lot, especially on gravel and snow, especially when the tires weren't that developed as they are nowadays, you had to stop the understeer by inducing oversteer, and a technique that was found out by the Nordic countries, let's say Sweden, Finland, Norway, and a tiny bit maybe Denmark contributing to that as well. They found that turning one way to get the weight transfer to start moving and then turning back in the direction of the corner allowed you to get more weight transfer to the rear, so to pivot the car around, thus creating the technique called the Scandinavian flick, because the Scandinavians used to do it the most, and it was almost like flicking the car into the turn. So a bit of stylized driving right there, and you can see drivers, even now with all of the grip in the world, they keep using the technique because it is very, very fast.
Yeah, I always think about stuff like that. I always, can you imagine the person that invented this style of driving, trying to explain it to his friends down the pub, like, oh yeah, if you turn one way, you go the other way, guys. They probably just think he's the biggest idiot in the world until they try it themselves. So it's always, yeah, it's interesting to hear these stories, you know. But yeah, again, like you say, even with the grip, well, I mean, there's probably not much grip, but a lot more grip than what they had back then. I mean, some of these techniques definitely stand the test of time, as we see. I was not expecting a jump there, actually. That was a little bit sketchy, but
big impact.
This is not ideal, especially with this massive bank on the right-hand side as well. I mean, this is almost a recipe for disaster right here. But again, yeah, like I was saying, a lot of this stuff does stand the test of time, so it's good to see. But yeah, this does take
all crash fires to JPH. If we can get that on camera 4. We've got a JPH off into the logs. He clipped the snowbank, just as you said. He clipped the snowbank on the outside. It pivoted the car into the logs on the left, and he's got back going again, but with a little bit of damage. And that's how fast it can go wrong. We're just watching another driver, and then all of a sudden, split second, the driver hits a snowbank, and before they can figure out what's going on, it's just spun around, and then you're a passenger effectively. And as Kamikaze said, as soon as you go into the deep snow, well, are you going to roll all JPH on the bank again? He's a little bit probably rattled by the previous incident. And that's the problem, is that once you get one mistake, it often leads to 2 or 3 more. And the more nervous you get, as Kamikaze was saying, the more chance you have of making a mistake. So his strategy was to just keep pushing even if you do make a mistake, and stop on the snowbank once again. So he'll get to this junction and think, breathe, sigh of relief. Right, we've got it slowed down, reset on this junction, and go for it again. That's usually what you should do. Get to a slow section of the stage, reset your mind for that half a second that you get on the apex, and then go again and see what you can do. But it's very, very tricky. Going back to the Scandinavian flick, I think there was a certain movie called Cars that said if you've got to turn right to go left, or something like that. So a good way of explaining it to people that might not understand.
That's what implanted the racing bug into my head when I was younger. I used to absolutely love that film. I don't know, maybe some of the viewers at home will know, because I always tell people about this, but no one ever remembers it. There was Cars video games on PS2.
There certainly was.
I used to play those so much. I used to absolutely love that game. You know, I tried. I heard it was on I have a 3DS as well. I heard it was on there, and it was. That was not an ideal port. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it's been a while since I played it, but yeah, I think maybe that's probably what I was thinking of before I started my first stage when I drove WRC for the first time. Thinking about that Cars quote. And, I probably crashed. Well. Yeah, I probably crashed like 10 times, but it's all right. It still applies well.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about rally. You've got to learn the techniques. You've got to Formula 1 and stuff like that. It's learning to be on the limit, learning to use the track to its utmost. Rally is learning when to not use the track at its utmost, and when to sort of be a bit cautious, when to not take the line all the way to the outside like Kamikaze has just done. Again, very, very lucky to get away with it. I think maybe perhaps me saying that Quentin had a little bit of a crash has got to him a little bit, because he might be backing off now, trying to conserve the points effectively. And so as he said, he's his own worst enemy, and he can make a lot of mistakes if he's too comfortable, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, also going back to JPH, I think he seems to have everything under control now, but something you were saying, you know, if you're going to have an incident, ideally you would have it before a slow section of the track. So, you know, he had that really fast section, but then he had a few, you know, he had a right-hander and a few slow corners to kind of calm himself down. I mean, yeah, we keep going back to it, but like you say, you know, you really got to calm yourself down, get back into the right headspace, and then just keep sending it, because, yeah, if you think about it too much, then it's all going to go wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem on a long stage. You can get caught up thinking about what you did wrong on your previous mistakes, and then you miss the apex for the next corner, and then you go off there, and now you've got 2 incidents to think about, and it just compounds the issue again and again and again. But it's looking like, though, that most of our drivers are starting to push more and more as predicted as the rally goes on, especially people like JPH and Cephalosis. They seem to be really, really putting pedal to the metal. It looks like we've got Ambient Mike finally in the commentary box for a little bit of an interview. How's it going so far? Some very fast stage times, if I say so myself.
Thank you. Yeah, going pretty decent so far. I don't think I've made any major mistakes. A lot of little minor errors, losing momentum. Certainly driver excuse out of the way. I'm a little down compared to the Yaris's and the Ford Puma, but honestly going pretty good so far.
We had the first Puma on the list, as far as I can see, in 6th place overall. Do you think there's much of a car difference? Is it probably maybe a couple of seconds, or is it a bit more than that? And why did you go with the Fords then in that case?
It's probably just a couple of seconds per stage. The Yaris, in my opinion, it really gains a lot of its time in 4th and 5th gear. It just seems to have a little bit more torque compared to the other cars. The Puma I'm going to be using for another league coming up after this, so I thought, all right, Creator Series would be a little great time to dust the cobwebs off it.
It's great junction, by the way, there that we can see as we've got your replay. I think it is on screen right now. We were talking about techniques and like the Scandinavian flick and stuff like that. How important is it to use those kind of techniques on especially snow and gravel rallies? And would you have any other tips for, let's say, drivers that aren't used to rally?
Honestly, snow is really unique in the game compared to a lot of the other surfaces because you have so much grip from the studded tires. So in the high speed, you really want to be really smooth and use the aero, but because you have so much grip in the low speed, you actually really want to use the handbrake a lot, get it pointed on exits, and sometimes just send it in and, you know, pin the throttle, hope it's going to stick, and usually it will.
Yeah, until it doesn't, and Quentin and certain drivers have found that out, sadly, for the moment. You're looking quite good 2nd overall at the moment, so some good points for the championship as well.
I'm sure my luck will run out pretty soon, so we'll hopefully keep it easy going.
I'm hoping not, because that means the commentator's curse is getting worse. So over to you, Gwatz.
Well, yeah, same thing I've asked everyone. What's the plan for the rest of the rally? How are you feeling? Are you feeling confident going into the final few stages?
Feeling pretty good. I mean, the pace has been probably where I'd expect it to be. Taking a little bit of a risky strategy and not taking any spare tire. So I think from here on out, it's just going to be flat out, hope and pray, and see what happens.
That's exactly what we like to hear. And hopefully we haven't cursed you as well. That would not be ideal.
Hopefully not, but we shall see. In any case, it's about time to let you get on with the next stage. So thank you ever so much for your time, and yeah, I wish you all the best for the next stages.
Thank you very much, gents.
Thank you, mate.
It's our pleasure. Just off our screen there, we had IRC-JPH going for, sadly, another spin. Thankfully, it looks like no damage incurred, or no major damage, let's say, but it was quite a high-speed spin, so he's got away with it.
I think his bonnet is definitely flapping around a little bit, so that's not ideal.
Goes up the bank as well. This stage has got it all. It's a fast stage. It's after the long stages, so though it's like a sprint to them. It's like a 5-lap sprint race in Formula 1. You just go for it, send it, see what happens, and you know that if you do get a puncture or get some damage, it's not too well. Or if you go off the road like that, I'm just gonna carry on. Go on.
To be fair, he actually saved it quite. I mean, if there's any point you want to go off at, I guess it's probably at the beginning. That wasn't the fastest part of the track as well, so luckily he managed to get back on track. Yeah, so I mean, hopefully there's no issue here. I mean, yeah, going back to what he said, very commendable for taking the non-ideal car, I guess you could say. So I give him a lot of credit for that. Yeah, luckily, I mean, he could have very easily been facing the wrong way then and had to reverse, and that would have been even more time lost. But I don't think he lost too much from that, actually. So, I mean, apart from that, not looking too bad right now. So hopefully he can get another decent time on the board. Oh, okay, we've just jinxed him a little bit there.
That Scandinavian flick was absolutely perfect, though.
Yeah,
just
there we go.
absolutely
that was very nice.
You did that on
very
purpose.
Nice. Oh, yeah. That's what I always say when I'm driving this game as well. It's all on purpose. It's all on purpose. But, yeah, he's recovered quite well, actually. Hopefully getting a decent time on the board. And like you said, this is such a short stage, so yeah, I mean, because it's so fast, I guess there's even more room for an airplane crash, if you will. But nothing too serious yet.
Yeah, it's a case of just keeping the mistakes to a minimum. You know, if you're going to go off at some point, everybody has on our panel of drivers, and probably everybody that has completed this rally has at least gone off the road once. And it's just a case of choosing where to go off, and if you can't choose where to go off, just mitigating the damage as much as possible. And thankfully, Sweden, as Kamikaze said, has quite a bit of snow, so if you do go off, unlike in real life, you won't get stuck in the snow. So you can just drive casually back onto the stage. Oh, the bump there for Ambient Mike, just catching him out. The compression, just sort of like compressing the suspension too much and hitting the bump stop, and just a passenger from there on. But he went up the snowbank and everything is perfectly fine. But you can see this is part of the previous stage, which is run flat out as it was last time we saw it. And with the stage progressively getting darker, so the drivers will be driving in sunset conditions, as you can see from Ambient Mike's perspective, but from Kamikaze's perspective, toward the end of the stage, it's already very, very close to nighttime conditions. That can be off-putting because it means that you can't see the apex as clearly, you can't see the braking point sometimes as well, and it can happen that you miss a junction in these conditions. And it's one of those things that, again, on a Formula 1 game you have brake marker boards. Here you have a tree, and if you can't spot the tree, then you can't brake in the right spot.
Yeah, Kamikaze's made it to the end, but he was flicking the lights on and off a little bit, so I think he was a little bit unsure if they actually had the lights on or not. Mike's game, on the other hand, is looking very beautiful, but there was a point, actually. I was watching Kamikaze for most of that, and there were a few points. It was a bit of a messy stage, actually, obviously. You know, I'm not one to talk, but from what I've seen from him so far, I mean, he's still got a very good time, but there was one point where I thought he was actually going to fly into a tree. So, still a very good time, but I was, he had a few browns on that one, I think, which is ideal.
5 seconds off the pace, a very, very good time once
Very
again.
good time.
P2, and he's still P2 overall. You can see from Contan's perspective, he's got some heavy damage on the front there, and that's not going to get better as if he sends it like that. I think we are seeing a frustrated Contan driving right now, with mistake after mistake, sadly, for one of our fastest drivers. It happens. He's had crashes on both previous events, so sadly his championship is not going very well for the moment, but there is ample time to recover that, and he'll be gearing up to hopefully get some power stage points as well. So that is the thing that people will be aiming for and gearing themselves up for. The last stage, there are an extra 5 points on offer for our fastest driver, all the way down to 1 point for the 5th fastest driver on that particular stage. So for the drivers that are maybe unhappy with their place or have made mistakes, like doing that, for example, for Contan, that damage will probably count because he has not crossed the finish line yet. And yeah, he's saying
we're going to see some gloves off here.
It's just translating what I briefly heard in French. You can see he's just so annoyed with it. He touched the anti-cut marker and it got wedged under the car and gave him understeer into that finish post there. So yeah, 13 seconds off. Not where he wants to be, and with damage on the car. That is stage 10. He'll be able to repair the damage, which is the good part about that. He's approaching the service area, but that's a lot of damage for JPH as well. Let's see if we can get a little word with him. JPH, hope you can hear us. That's a lot of damage. How much of that is intentional?
Well, I would like to say all of it for entertainment, but it is not for sure.
Well, you've got 45 minutes to repair the car, and it looks like you've got 45 minutes of repairs to do. So good maths, I guess.
Yeah, the mechanics are pretty quick at this stuff nowadays, so you know they're getting paid well to do this. So I expect to have a nice new car, and oh, there it is.
Yeah, Rally 1 engineers, they are a spectacle to watch. I saw them at Goodwood just replacing some suspension parts. It's like 5 minutes and it's done. Yeah, sure. That would take me a day to do on my road car if I could even do it for a start. So it's impressive to watch the mechanics. Your rally has been a fast rally so far, but also with quite a few offs that sadly some of them we've caught on camera. How would you interpret your rally so far? Are you happy with the pace?
Pace is there. It's sort of a typical Sweden. I mean, it's pretty much no secret that I'm not quick on Sweden. And yeah, just a few minor sort of clips to the banks that haven't quite gone my way, and a couple of sort of silly mistakes along the way. But yeah, I mean, the pace is there. I haven't good battle with encephalosis at the moment, going into the last two. So it's still a lot of fun. But and I'm feeling a lot more comfortable on the wheel now, which is the main thing at the moment, is getting time on the wheel and sort of building back into that sort of pace and rhythm. It's just like this isn't really the rally to sort of show it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, how are you getting on with the wheel then? It's getting a bit more familiar now because obviously you've moved from a belt or cog driven wheel to a direct drive wheel. Is that helping you feel the road a little bit more?
Yeah, it's a lot more precise, which for my sort of style of driving is very, very nice to have, and we've kind of messed around with it quite a lot over the last week just to get it feeling a little bit nicer and a little bit sort of slightly more realistic, but also to the liking where I'm sort of back to my usual style, sort of like the style I had with the old wheel, but now with a lot more precision and feel, which is a really, really nice feeling.
Sounds good to me. Maybe Guati got a question or two.
Yeah, well, again, only a few stages left. Now, how are you feeling going into the end of the rally? What's the end goal, do you think, for the weekend?
End goal, I mean, if I can get into that top 30 in the club, that'd be quite nice to see. And to be honest, I'm just trying to beat encephalosis at this point. You know, he's only 3/10 behind me, so if I can beat him and just sort of take some points away from a weak event, that'd be a good event for me.
Yeah, nice. We'll keep a lookout for that.
Okay, sounds good. Well, not to keep you waiting for your last two stages, we'll let you get on with those and wish you all the best for not only this one, but also the power stage. Maybe last question, going for power stage points or not?
I think we'll see where we end up after the first one. I think we'll get through the first one first and then decide what we do for the power stage.
Sounds like a plan. Well, we'll leave you get on with that. Thank you for your time.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, mate.
It's always lovely to hear the drivers' different perspectives. They've all got a different answer, haven't they? They're all, you know, they give the general answer, but there's always that little detail where you think, that's different to someone else's approach.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've got to brush up on my questions for next time, but again, at the same time, it is interesting to hear the different answers you get from all the different drivers. I am quite enjoying that, actually, to hear what they all have to say about the same question. It is very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. It's, you know, it's always the simplest of questions, the broadest of questions, where you get the answers where you go, that's not one that I expected. Especially on the pace, I didn't expect many drivers to answer, I'm pushing flat out. And yet most drivers have said that they are just absolutely going for it. And, you know, that's not normally what Rally Sweden's all about. But, hey, look, with all of this downforce, all of this grip, maybe they're just feeling that confident.
I mean, like I said, it's probably not as fun to drive in, but it's definitely fun to watch them all send it around the track. So, yeah, like I said, I'm glad I'm not driving in these conditions. So, for our sake, for the entertainment's sake, I'm glad they're making it interesting and absolutely sending it. That's exactly what we like to see.
Yeah, it is. It is exactly what we want to see, as we've got Riff Blondie in off camera, just going off the road slightly, but recovering very, very well. She's back in the driving seat. So as we said, 2 drivers there in that specific seat competing for their place, which is a very unusual thing to see in rally, but it has happened before. You got Ancephalosis on a very, very dark stage, and thankfully, if you cross the finish line and you're about to crash into something, sometimes it resets you to the track and avoids having damage. That would have been particularly bad, seeing as the power stage is the next one. So I think Ancephalosis will be counting his lucky stars after that one. As you can see, Ryan always so concentrated. You get drivers like Kamikaze, like Ryan, who basically have no expressions during the stage, and then you've got people like Quentin that are very expressive, usually a throw of hands if there's something going wrong. It's always interesting to see how drivers react to adversity or to something going very, very well. As you can see, both drivers on the limit here, and it's just mesmerizing to watch Rally Sweden, isn't it? I'm just looking at the perspectives now and thinking,
honestly, it really is. It honestly looks unbelievable. I think Ryan, is he's just having a casual. I don't know if he's streaming and he looked at his chat, but he's like chatting to himself as well. Like it's so casual for what they're doing. You know, it's honestly
oh god damn,
it's crazy. Oh,
lucky boy, lucky boy once again. Finally
used up a lot of his luck for this year on this on some of these stages. Not ideal, but at least he's still going.
I'd like to say he's had his fair share of bad luck for the moment, but it doesn't seem to be getting any better, which is quite worrying for him. As you can see here, we got Ambient Mike, Kamikaze, Quentin, and Mr. Ryan, all on one perspective for you all, so you can look at the various different driving styles. It can actually be very, very interesting to see how people lose time or how people gain time just based on having the car a millimeter to the left or a millimeter to the right based on someone else's line into a corner. And in rally, that speed, that momentum, a bit like in Formula 1, can just add up to tenths of a second here, and by the end of the stage it can equate to tens of seconds sometimes. And I know from myself, well, Ryan's been off in the place where Quentin went off, just there, same corner, so obviously the grip is not what they were expecting in that corner specifically. Bit interesting though to see multiple drivers go off on exactly the same place.
Yeah, that's not ideal. At least when they look back at the broadcast, if they do, they can blame it on the game and not their own skill. So at least they've got an excuse lined up for the post rally interviews. But yeah, I mean, like you say, it's obviously, again, you know, very similar to Formula 1. It's a time that you get at the end, not, you know, a P1. Well, I mean, you still finish, but you know, you're going off of the times, you know. So it's you know, a 10th here and a 10th there can really add up at the end of it. And it also leads to, you know, these people have such different driving styles. But then I think it was JPH. I can't remember who he said it was, but he's after almost every stage, he's only got a 3/10 lead on one of the other drivers, which is very interesting.
Yeah, that's overall Ancephalosis and JPH
yes, that was the other driver,
separated by 0.3 of a second, so they will be pushing flat out because obviously points matter, and especially if you're pushing on the power stage, you can gain even more points. Kamikaze there, second place seems to be his spot on the leaderboards for the moment with Lembar in P4 after that one, so it's looking really, really good for them. Ambient Mike P6, as you can see right there, so the time's incredibly close, and I think for Quentin it'll be another one of those where he goes, I could have been fighting for that win, you know, I could have been on the pace, and like we've seen in real life Rally Sweden, all it takes is one mistake, you lose best part of a minute or more, and that takes you out of the fight for the win, a bit like Adrian Formeau. And it looks like we are into our final stage here with our first drivers, the power stage. So just again, a reminder, this stage, if you are fastest of the creators, so not overall, but fastest of the creators, you will take home an extra 5 points. So we will see drivers pushing absolutely flat out for most of this stage, as they want to get a really, really good stage in for the last little bit of the rally.
Yeah, I was going to say, even just to begin with, I think Aerotech took a little bit of a jump that wasn't planned, let's just say that. So that's definitely on the limit. I mean, yeah, again, these 5 extra points, if you do end up getting them, are going to be very crucial for the championship, I assume, as well. So it's I think, yeah, if you're gonna crash in one stage, it's probably worth doing it here, because at least you know you gave it your all, you know, to try and get those extra points.
Yeah, I find it a great addition, the power stage, both here obviously, but also in real life when they introduced it a long time ago now. I think it was 2016 that it was introduced. It brought a new spectacle to the rally, because often in endurance events toward the end of it, you're just backing off trying to get to the finish line unless you're in a really close battle. And so what the WRC did is, well, the last stage, so when everybody doesn't want to push, we'll make them push for some extra points, and it really does add that last spectacle, that last little bit of jeopardy to a rally, which, to be fair, Sweden doesn't need, but other rallies maybe do need a little bit more. Aerotech just clipping logs on the outside of the corner. Very easy to do. Luckily no puncture, but that was millimeters away from disaster there, and I think he is pushing quite hard, judging by that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure how how good the damage model is on this game, but is that something that could potentially lead to a puncture?
Normally, if you don't have a puncture immediately when you hit it, you're okay.
Okay, alright.
But I'd love to see that implemented, to be fair. That sounds like a great idea. Have like a bit like the Formula 1 model, where you either get more tire wear on that specific tire to simulate damage to the tire, or indeed just like a slow puncture. But very difficult to simulate, possibly. That's the only thing I can think. Oh, we got Rift Blondie off the stage. I think this is the power stage as well. So Rift Blondie going for a little bit of a tumble down the stage, and I think she's talking with her brother and maybe got a bit distracted there. So the co-driver not reading the pace notes, just working as a distraction. That's a bold strategy. Let's see if it pays off a bit more for them.
Yeah, you know, I couldn't see him. I couldn't see Eric for a little bit. I thought he'd packed it in, but he is still there, which is good for moral support. So that's nice to see. I mean, as we see Rift go off again a little bit. I mean, it's not been an ideal rally, but
really
I think they've got a bit of, maybe it's just a camera angle, but it seems like they've got a bit of damage on the front here as well. Maybe we didn't exactly
really
catch all of that, but yeah, I mean, with someone in the room with you and switching out in and out of the rig, which is probably quite unsettling. I think they've done a decent job, to be honest, with the conditions they've been in. But yeah, I think potentially nursing a bit of damage here, so not an ideal power stage. I'm not sure they'll be picking up any extra points here, but still not too bad.
Yeah, it's a new premium secret DLC coming out, non-official, just want to note that down, called The Voices. I'm not sure whether it's an improvement or not, though, because it seems to be quite distracting for the moment for Rift Blondie.
Oh no. Yeah, I thought I could tell. I thought she was going in there a little bit hot, and luckily managed to get around the corner, but yeah, the voice DLC is clearly not helping. Again, unofficial, but yes, hopefully they do not implement this into the real game.
Oh, and Ancephalosis doing a unique strategy. I think they're on the pretty much the same corner, Rift Blondie and Ancephalosis. Just going on the inside of one of the snowbanks. Oh, that's a huge crash for Jam. No! A 30-second penalty right at the end. Oh, you can see it, the devastation.
I think he's got some damage as well, maybe.
Possible, yeah, looking at it, the car is not, well, it's bumping along the surface, which is not what you want to be seeing. And yeah, I'd say that's probably a less than happy car on the stage now. Maybe some severe suspension damage. Looks to be turning okay, so not too bad, but definitely the confidence will be out the window right now, that's for sure. And for Jam, struggling through, you know, trying to just get to the end of the rally, that's just the last nail sort of in the coffin, really, for this event, sadly. And oh, he's just, wow, nice corner. I must admit, that was perfect. That was brilliant, on the limit. Lovely to see. You can see, this is what they were saying earlier, I think Ancephalosis said it, is that every driver's upping their pace, and so you're forced to push faster as well. You're just forced to find that extra level, and that's what happens, I think, in all racing series, is someone brings something new to the table and you've got to respond to it.
Yeah, I think it's obviously after every single rally you get to see the stage times of, as we see. Oh, I thought Jam might go straight on them, but he actually took that corner quite well as well, actually. So maybe the damage not as bad as we first thought. But anyway, as I was saying, I think the fact that you can see the oh, I've just jinxed him a bit there. You can see the times at the end of the stage. Again, like you were saying, even if you don't necessarily want to go to that extra percent, you're kind of forced to, because you can see in real time exactly what's happening. You know, again, if there's a small gap, you know you need to add a few percent to that overall pushing, and it's yeah, sometimes it doesn't always work out, as we may have seen with Jam on the stage, but yeah, I think he'll make it to the end, which is good. At least he gets that. Yeah,
that's most definitely, that's the most important thing for him, and you can see, wow, Jammer not waking up, sadly, according to the text, and straight into the trees. It's very, very easy one to do that because, and hopefully he doesn't get stuck in the ditch. But yeah, it's a very, very difficult pace note, that one, because the corner, at least according to me, is a lot tighter than the co-driver says. And so if you're not, looking out for it, which with tiredness you wouldn't be, it would be just straight off into the trees. I've done it multiple times myself. But you didn't hear that from me. Ambient Mike has completed, I think that is the power stage, as Kamikaze gets to the end of the stage. So 4:54, just checking that. Ooh, Kamikaze.
Ooh,
I
very
think
interesting line there.
that was on purpose right there. It's not illegal if there's no anti-cut marker, but that was definitely risky, that's for sure. He's giving it his all, hopefully, to get those 5 points. This is a stage where he can't back off and where he has to push. So, yeah, Ambient Mike just 16 seconds off the pace there, so still a very good time. But I think he'd be quite disappointed with that, seeing as Vlembar is provisionally fastest and 6th overall. You can just see him... No, he's gone to the overall standings there. That's not the power stage standings. But 7th overall for Vlembar. That is a very good time. And Ambient Mike does beat Vlembar overall then. Kamikaze on the limit here. Can he get it done? He's just going to be on par with the fastest time. 2 seconds slower than the fastest time. That is a huge stage from Kamikaze to probably bank 5 points. Unless the only driver I can think that can beat that time is Mr. Contantalolmo, and it certainly looks like he's throwing caution to the wind here. So let's see what he can do.
Yeah, this is an interesting battle. We are seeing two drivers absolutely send it right now. That was, yeah, I had my eye on Kamikaze. That was just full commitment, flat out. It's beautiful to see, really. Again, I'm not sure exactly what time. Oof, as he almost clipped the barrier there. Nice little 360 as well. Very nice to see.
Oh, lovely. Lovely done.
And he's taken out the marshals as well. Very nice. I don't know what time that was, but yeah, Kamikaze, that was it's a very beautiful lap. From both of them, they were both absolutely on the limit then, but yeah, very good lap from
third
Kamikaze.
place. So that'll be 4 power stage points provisionally, which is a very good haul of points, but I'm sure Contan will be quite disappointed with the overall rally results, seeing as that's where the most points are. We still have a few drivers in the stage. We have Ryan still going into the stage. It looks like he's lost a little bit of time mid-stage there. As you can see, he's got the splits on. He's got a split overlay. He's currently 3 seconds down on his, I'm guessing, his personal best time. Which actually, for a one-try rally, 3 seconds off your personal best is actually a great time, to be fair. Because when you're time trialing, you take all of the risks. But if you've only got one shot, one opportunity, it can easily slip away from you.
Yeah, he's doing quite well right now, actually. Again, as everyone is, this is your last chance. You got to send it. Looking pretty decent right now. I mean, this is obviously up to your professional opinion, but he could be on for a few extra points here. From what it seems, he's going well so far.
Depends on what that split time is to. Is it to the first time or is it to his personal best?
Yes.
I think, judging by the driving, he could be on for a couple of power stage points for sure. It's not the same level of commitment that Kamikaze had, so probably not the fastest time. He's not taking many of the cuts. But then again, nor would I be doing at this point. You have to know what you're doing to take all of those cuts like Kamikaze did. But he will come across the line right now, and it is a 5:01. So that's just outside the top 20 on that stage, but still a very, very good result. I think, sadly, though, it's going to be just outside of the power stage points. I think he's the first driver without power stage points. We've got JPH here. I will just go back on the leaderboards. He will pick up provisionally actually 1 power stage point, I think.
Nice, very nice.
Mr. Ryan, so that's very good for him. And overall, let's have a look at our overall results then. I think that was P20 for Ryan overall for the moment. So overall, at the end of the rally, you have EXR Kamikaze in 2nd place. Of all of our drivers, not only the ones on broadcast, but anybody who's participated, all 396 of them that have finished the rally so far. Still time to set your times if you want to. You've got until, I think it's tomorrow morning, if I remember correctly, about 9 hours from now. We have Ambient Mike in 6th place overall, managing to maintain that gap. But the gap, incredible on this rally, already 2 minutes 30 seconds off the pace. So that's an incredible time gap. We have Vlembar, P3 of our Creator Series standings in P8 overall, with Conta managing to make his way back up the leaderboard, but just falling short of catching Vlembar. So he'll be quite disappointed, I think, of that one, knowing his standards. But still, that by my calculations, that's about 12 points. And Ryan in top 20 as well. Looks like we've got another interview lined up. Maybe Blondie, if we
You
can
want
get
us to do
her
a
in.
cooking stream? We can do a cooking
If she
stream.
can hear us
We
in
can
the
make pizza.
comments.
Yeah.
She's muted on
Not
Discord.
sure.
Or
I don't think she can hear us, sadly. They've definitely been cooking, let's say, in the rally.
They've been cooking something, definitely.
Hopefully they can hear us. Riff Blondie, can you hear us? That'll do.
That's good enough.
Fair
That's
enough.
good enough.
They seem to be enjoying themselves, which is the main thing. And I think they've had a pretty good rally and a lot of fun. That's for sure. When you're participating and somebody else is watching you, adds a little bit more pressure, I think, to actually getting some results. Let's see if we can get Phil in instead for a little bit of an interview. Phil, we've seen you quite a few times on this rally. It looks to be going very well for you. So, how would you interpret your own stages and results?
I'm not a snow guy, so considering that snow and ice are my weakest, I'm okay with my results. It's kind of better than where I thought I would be. Overall, I didn't have like a big mistake. I didn't have, like a big moment during the entire race. It was just little things here and there. Just small things that added up and probably added a good minute 15 to my overall ET. But I still enjoyed it. I mean, I had fun. I was doing a lot of left foot braking in the high speed sections. I think I had to replace brakes 2 or 3 times during service. But I'm keeping practicing, man, and I'm trying to get faster on the snow and get a little more comfortable with it, and just avoid the snow drifts on the outside. You'll catch an edge on that; it'll spin you around. It was just things like that. But this is a good car for Sweden. I mean, if you're going to ask me to pick a car to run Rally Sweden with, we're going to go with the hybrid car because it just handles it the best and it's the most fun. You can slide it through a turn and just enjoy the drive, man.
Looking forward then in the season a little bit. We've got mostly 4-wheel drive cars this season. Is that something that you maybe enjoy more than the rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, or are you more a specialist of some other categories?
Oh no, man! If when you give me the choice on car, I'm always going to go with the all-wheel drive car. My last choice will be the front-wheel drive. So I got all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive. So with the upcoming events being all-wheel drive cars, that's gonna help me out a little bit. As being kind of a midfield driver, suiting to more of my style with the all-wheel drive cars.
Just amending my point of view, saying here we do have 2 front-wheel drive events, sadly.
Oh, John, you just killed my spirit.
Well, it's still a majority. Still a majority.
My spirit, John.
It's okay. I didn't say anything. We can edit that part out, right, Gareth?
Okay, there you go. Fair
Gareth,
enough.
Don't say silent on me, Gareth. Right now. Now's not the time.
I mean, I can deal with front-wheel drives. But yeah, all-wheel drive's always my preference, and it always will be. All-wheel drives on gravel that's where I feel most at home. But I've been putting more effort into snow and ice, trying to get better because I know that's where I'm lacking. I've run Monte Carlo in this one this year, or not this year. Well, this year technically, and this season, and they have both been extreme challenges for me because one's on ice, one's on snow. And considering where I was just the first couple seasons I was in Creator Series, I've gotten faster, and I'm going to keep working on it and try to, because like we do the gravel and the tarmac, usually I expect myself to at worst be top 100. Well, when we come down here, I'm like, man, just let me get a 150 out of this, and I got 126 right now. I really want a top 100, and if I didn't have the little things go sideways for me, I'd be there. But come next season, I fully expect myself to be there on a regular basis on ice and snow.
Good analysis, and I hope that works out for you. Gots, maybe I've been prioritizing, not prioritizing, but sort of occupying the questions for maybe a bit too long. It's time to let you.
No, I'm glad you have been, because I've not got the most questions. I mean, you kind of touched on it already, but what do you think the goal is for the rest of the season? How high do you think you can get up the overall standings?
Overall, if I really buckle down, put in the practice, last season I think I finished overall. I think I was around P65, P70 for the overall in the club. My goal is to get myself back right to that level or better from where I finished last season. And last week didn't help me getting a terminal on stage 10 last week, so that didn't help my cause at all. Hopefully that'll be my only bad finish will have been, from last week at Finland.
Yeah, hope so for you too. I remember that one, not the best of times for you, but you have to have one every season. It happens, and hopefully
that better be my one, man.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that's my one. Go ahead and get it out of the way early in round 2, and that'll be my one, and we'll just cruise on for the rest of the season, man.
Well, it's great to hear from you anyway, and glad that you enjoyed the experience of Rally Sweden, and hope to see you next time as well. Thank you for your time.
Oh, yeah, guys. Always a good time, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to hear every driver basically just enjoying the event. That's the main thing, isn't it? Because, with rally, it can be sort of tense, and, you don't have time to think about it while you're driving. And then you get to the end of an event and people go, oh, that was actually quite fun to drive. And that's the main thing, really, is that, we do all of this so that people enjoy it and people can, gain experience of rally if they're not too sort of used to competing in rally, let's say.
Yeah.
I've heard in the background, sorry to interrupt you, Gots, but I've heard we've got another interview lined up. We're just getting the interviews one after the other at the moment. Hopefully Riff Blondie can hear us now.
We're here now.
Lovely stuff. It was very amusing seeing you guys swap the sim rig and the seat. How difficult was that to do one stage and then swap driver and sort of give coaching, maybe advice and stuff like that?
Not really hard, because we agreed on swapping seats in between service areas. I just made sure to repair the car and change tires for Eric, because it's like one of the first things he's ever done like this. So yeah, how was it for you? How was it for you?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the difficult part. For me, the most difficult part was actually putting these things on, these little headphones, because it's crazy hard to put them. For me, actually, Blondie thinks I'm crazy for not putting them well, but for me, it's very hard. So, I don't know. But yeah, it was pretty fun. It was fun. So.
Well, I must say, Eric, for the first time that you're maybe driving in this, it was pretty impressive. I must say, you both looked like you were driving very, very well, and yeah, it was one of those things where I went, hang on, this guy's driven here before. There's no way. And how difficult was it in Sweden then on snow?
I personally played lots and lots of rally stages before when I came over to her place, but this one with the snow I personally like more even than the dry asphalt ones. For me, I like the feeling of a little bit of drifting and all of that, and it honestly feels awesome. I like it. Because the snow is my favorite one. I hate the mud, but the snow is perfect for me on rally. I love it.
So will we see you both back doing the same simulator swapping at later stages in the championship?
Every time he will have vacation from school, yeah, he will be here driving with me.
That sounds like good stuff. I can't wait to see that. That's going to be entertaining. Maybe Gwatz, if you got a question for them.
That was the only question I had. I wanted to know if they were going to do it again or not. And I wanted to say as well, Eric, that is the you're a true rally driver if you enjoy the snow. I'm not going to lie. So there's maybe you got to get your own rig, bro. Maybe there's some potential there. You never know.
We're working on it.
I'm very happy to hear that actually, that you enjoy the snow the most. But yeah, that was it was very entertaining, guys. So thanks for that.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
It was an absolute pleasure and great to watch you having fun and just I could only see laughter every single time we switched to your POV. It was just everything may be on stage or not on stage. It didn't really matter because the smiles were there and we love to see it. So we'll be more than happy to have you back, obviously, at a later time, and we'll look forward to see even faster stage times next time, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Of course.
You will see.
Ooh, throwing down the
Guarantee
gauntlet. I
you.
like it. Well, thank you ever so much for your
Thanks very
time
much,
once again.
guys.
And
Thank
yeah,
you
until
so
next
much
time.
once again.
It's our pleasure. Well, I'll just ask our producer if we've got any other interviews lined up. One more. We'll get, it looks like Ancephalosis in as our last interview of the day. Hopefully Ancephalosis is there.
I'm here.
So, in terms of the battle, it was very, very quick and very close between you and quite a few other drivers. Was the power stage enough for you? Do you think? You seem to be going very well through there.
Yeah, I think it went well. I don't know. I mean, actually, I didn't go through and count how many people were ahead on the power stage specifically.
I'm just checking.
Okay. Well, it went pretty good. I think I was like 30 or 33rd on the power stage, and then about the same overall, which I'm very happy with. I did take a 10-second service penalty, which was not the most fun, which got added to Napjournet, which is my favorite stage. It looks like I would have been like P7 or P8 without that 10-second penalty, which would have been nice, but I can at least sleep comfy knowing that it was just a service penalty. And then looking at the final standings, I think it only, well, I say only cost me like 2 or 3 positions. It did cost me 2 or 3 positions, which again kind of stinks, but it's not the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah, just calculating here, you would have been 4 seconds behind IRC-JPH overall without that penalty, so it was oh so close. But however, I must say, you do finish ahead of Aerotech, which was your objective mid-rally. So mission accomplished on that front?
Yeah, mission accomplished. I was telling Aero, this is definitely my favorite rally. So he was saying he was still stoked to not be too far behind, all things considered. Portugal, I'm going to be a little more afraid of.
And why is that?
I just don't know Portugal as much. I know there's some new stages. I haven't seen those yet either, so definitely gonna have to do a little bit of practice before next week.
Well, you've got a week to figure that out. Maybe you've got a final question.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of touched on it then, but how are you feeling for the rest of the season? What's the end goal? And yeah, what's your confidence level like going into the next events?
Mixed confidence. I do like that it's the Rally 2017 to 21 cars. I really like the faster car classes. Looking ahead to some of the other events in the season, kind of same thing. I was telling the guys, I was kind of surprised. It's mostly fast cars this season. We do have Rally 4 in Mexico, but Mexico is, man, probably my second favorite location to Sweden. So I'm a little, I don't know much about Rally 4, but front wheel drive, I've been slowly getting the hang of. Yeah, honestly, Portugal might be the one I'm the most afraid of because I don't know it that well, and I know there's a lot of big, scary rocks in Portugal. So hopefully we can survive next week, and then definitely looking forward to a lot of the events. I think I also saw kit cars on tarmac. That's a really fun combination.
There's a lot of good combos, isn't there? There's a lot of stuff. Obviously, as you say, Portugal with the fastest cornering cars in the game, the WRC 2017 to 2021 cars. That's going to be a spectacle to watch next week, that's for sure. With the F2 kit cars, again, very, very fast front-wheel drive, very lightweight cars on a very fast tarmac rally. The Rally 4 cars, the possibly, apart from the historic cars, the slowest modern cars, front-wheel drive, very low horsepower. Got the best car in the game, the Renault Twingo. Lovely stuff, bounces around absolutely everywhere, so I'm looking forward to see that. So yeah, there's... Yeah, there is a Twingo. Gareth is just exclaiming about that in the
Yeah, we
background.
might have to get another producer. He might have to come race himself.
Let me
This
get
is
bonus
going to be
championship points if I take that one, because I'll use any help I can get for that.
going to have to come up with a rule of a 5-minute advantage for the Twingo. Might not even be enough.
Oh goodness.
But anyway, it's been great to watch you drive on Sweden. I think there was a lot of places you were flat out, and it was lovely to see you sort of gain confidence, as you said. And yeah, it's brilliant once again that you're just battling in that midfield, which is so close. And we can't wait to see where it goes for all of you, such as JPH, yourself, and Aerotech. Mostly, although Punjo, sadly, we're missing Punjo from quite a few races so far, so hopefully we'll be able to have him back at some point. But yeah,
Definitely missing Punju.
Unless Gwat, you've got a question, I think we'll leave Encephalosis perhaps go and celebrate getting to the end of the rally.
I've not got any more. I think we can let him celebrate after this, because it's yeah, very hard to get to the end of a rally like that. So congratulations, but yeah, nothing else from me.
Well, sounds good. Anyway, so thank you ever so much for your time, Encephalosis. And yeah, see you next time, perhaps.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, mate.
Been fun.
Our pleasure.
Cheers, guys.
Well, what a rally. It must be said that had everything in it, didn't it? It had, flat out stuff, conservative driving, not being able to see anything, just everything over the limit sometimes. And into obstacles, let's put it that way, for some drivers. Quite a few drivers like Contan Delormo might exit this venue thinking a little bit that they missed out on an opportunity to gain some points, and other people like Kamikaze will have their championship way back on course. As we had, once again, the battle realistically between Vlembar and Kamikaze there for that top spot. So it was really interesting to see that. What was your impression, Gwats, on that overall rally experience? I always like to ask this question.
I was very impressed. I mean, obviously, the events I've done, you don't really see the other people driving. And then if I ever watch it back, I kind of just watch myself back to see how I did. But I mean, again, if we go back to someone like Kamikaze, he is like I mean, I think it's fair to say that he is definitely a top, top 1%, top tier player on this game. So to have the pleasure, that's the only thing I can call it. It's been a pleasure to watch people like him just send it through. I mean, probably one of the most, I mean, people say it's their favorite, probably because it is so challenging. One of the most challenging stages or group of stages you can get. Yeah, watching him send it through, especially on the power stage, that was, I mean, I think I touched on it a bit before, but like, this is just, honestly, I think probably the purest form of racing, I would say. Yeah, it's been it's been a treat to watch some of these drivers take on the snow conditions, but yeah, very fun. I feel like I need a beer now, honestly, and I feel like these guys probably are the ones that deserve it. I'm tired out just by watching them, honestly. It's yeah, so I can't imagine how it is actually driving it, but yeah, they all did very well today. All did very well.
I can agree with that. Yeah, the driving that we saw. That I need a tiny bit of a break myself, probably just to calm down, get all of the get all of the nerves just from watching the other drivers go so fast on these Swedish stages. It's probably one of the best rallies to watch, really, because the grip does feel like gravity defying at some point, which is it's just crazy to see on snow rallies of all things. Really, you wouldn't expect to have a lot of grip, but there you go. I just want to ask also the question that I ask all commentators, because we do like putting themselves forward a little bit. Where can we find you on all of the social medias?
Well, I don't actually make any WRC content. I make F1 content, like the game. So I don't know if I can point it properly. Just look up Gwats on YouTube and you'll find my channel. I basically play as real life drivers and put them through like a series of challenges and stuff like that. So that's basically the only place I post. So if you want some YouTube content to watch whilst you're eating or something like that, then just youtube.com/Gwats, and then yeah, there's a few videos on there. So that's basically the only thing I post on.
Fair enough. good explanation. And for everything Creator Series, you've got the links right up there for not only the F1 Creator Series, but also all of the WRC stuff, which you can find various little snippets of action and crashes, mostly crashes, and drama, potentially sometimes a little bit, at least on the Formula One side, in all of the social medias right there. For me, it's is amusing. Right there. Hopefully I can point at it. There we go. A little down a little bit. There we go. Lovely stuff. Good coordination from me right there. Unlike my driving, which usually ends up in a tree, but we'll gloss over that fact, especially seeing as I've still got to do my Swedish run.
I'll be very
It's not
excited
going
to
to go
watch
well.
that, actually. I'm very excited to see that if you are streaming it. I want to I'm going to be, now that I've seen the best of the best, I'm going to be watching you like, oh, he should have gone a little bit wider there. No, I'm joking. I'm excited to see that.
I say that to myself way too often anyway. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the pace. Obviously, spectating is one thing, driving it is another thing. I highly encourage anybody, if you want to drive the event, there's still about 9 hours to go on the event, so more than enough time to get your times in, either now or early hours of the morning, depending on where you are in the world. So it's going to be interesting also to see how our drivers do on the next rallies, which are more gravel and tarmac rallies, so a change of style completely. And the championship points will probably be reversed and up on their heads a little bit once again. Shout out also, as always, to our producer, Gareth Allen. I know he doesn't like me saying a massive thank you yet, and I'm getting the moans and groans in the background of discontentness.
We love you, Gareth.
But yeah, he deserves it. He does a great job in the background. And all I have to do now is to wish that you will come back next week to see more action on the WRC Creator Series calendar with more thrills and spills for all of our drivers and drama as we approach the mid-season and where the points start mattering. If not, you've got the Formula One Creator Series on Saturday evenings, European time, so you can watch that as well, with drivers getting up to thrills and spills as well on the Formula One game. But for now, it is time to end the show, sadly. So I will thank you once again, Gwatz, for just being an awesome co-commentator. And I've enjoyed the experience, and we hope to see you back on at some point.
Hopefully so. I thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it, actually. It's been first time commentating anything, actually. So it's definitely been an experience, but it's one that I will remember, and it's one that I very much enjoyed. So this won't be the last time. Well, that's up to Gareth, I suppose, but this won't be the last time. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully this won't be the last time, because I very much enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure. It really has. So thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, once again, we've enjoyed having you on. I think it's been great to hear your perspective, and you had some sort of great feedback and questions in terms of like people that are new to WRC. I think that's something that rally fans sort of get into an echo chamber about, really, sometimes forgetting some of the basic stuff, which is good for us to commentate on. But anyway, been great having you all, and as well as all of you spectators as well. Sadly, it's time to end the show, so thank you ever so much for watching, and until next time on the Creator Series, we hope that you have a wonderful day and wonderful week to go along with that. Until next time, bye-bye for now.